dominance. But a major test tonight, a measuring stick. Ohio State unbeaten and unchallenged so far. The battlegrounds like this one have been known to turn into quicksand for the Buckeyes. This whole season has been a barren wasteland for upsets. But the siege for shockers just below the surface in conference play. And Big Red feels that the Buckeyes are ripe for the picking.
College Game Day, live from Lincoln, Nebraska, is built by the Home Depot. Proud sponsor of college football's premier pregame show.
Just outside one of the great cathedrals in college football, these people started camping out yesterday afternoon while Scott Frost imitators going here.
I love it.
You think he's popular around here? They are so hungry to be back on the national stage. A huge opportunity tonight in this, which will be just the second meeting ever between members of the 900-win club when Nebraska takes on Ohio State. Whoa, what a scene here. How much fun is this?
Outstanding, outstanding. This is impressive.
Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit, Desmond Howard here. Huskers have shown great improvement,
Yes,
and certainly they don't have to worry about getting support.
Oh, no, they have a lot of support. Even though they only won 4 games a year ago, they were expected to compete for the Big Ten West. And their quarterback, Adrian Martinez, he was put on the Heisman watch list for 2019. If he's going to be a Heisman contender, it starts tonight against the Buckeyes.
Yeah, Scott Frost was a quarterback here. He won a national championship here.
Yeah.
When they hired him, he envisioned this.
Of course.
This is the scene that he wanted.
Yeah.
Game day
Yes,
coming here, this crowd, and an opportunity to play a team like Ohio State on a big stage to kind of gauge where they are as he continues to build this. It's not a matter of if he's going to do this. It's a matter of when Nebraska gets back.
This is a big game for Nebraska. If they beat Ohio State, it would be the highest-ranked team they've beaten, the Big Red, in 18 years.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Wow.
Go Big Red. Go Big Red.
I see you're getting with them already. You know what we haven't had? We haven't had a lot of upsets. Top 5 teams haven't lost. Only 2 top 10 teams have lost. One of those was Notre Dame. They're still in the top 10 as we start to say.
And I think Notre Dame gained a lot of respect, at least in my opinion, last week, and the way they played in Athens. They better be careful because there was so much hype, so much anticipation of that build-up. The laser show, the hype. Notre Dame held their own into that, came down to the final few moments of that game. Now they get a chance to take on Virginia. And it doesn't sound great, but Virginia is a great team. Bronco Mendenhall has a defense that will put pressure on Ian Book, and it's going to test Notre Dame's leadership and maturity, how they show up today.
Southern Cal and Washington. Washington has led the Pac-12 in scoring defense in each of the last 4 years. This year, the defense is young, but they're playing very well, especially not giving up big plays. SC will test them today, no question.
Let's go Washington State and Utah. You know, this is a football team. Both these teams are disgruntled, frustrated with how last week went. Lost close game, could have won. Now you got to bounce back. You know, think about Utah on Friday night. They're playing against a third-string quarterback in Matt Fink.
Exactly.
And now they get a chance to get back home. Zach Moss looks like he's not going, so they're going to have to show some depth in that backfield. Washington State obviously going to have to throw the ball.
How about Auburn and Mississippi State? The Bulldogs want to come in running behind Kylan Hill and their quarterback, Garrett Schrader. But Auburn's defense is like, no can do, sir. They have the second best defense in the conference against the run. They're very athletic, and their linebackers love to blitz.
Ohio State and Nebraska. Adrian Martinez going to have to use those feet tonight, get chunk plays from guys like J.D. Spielman. And how about this freshman, Wan'Dale Robinson, who said last week, get me the ball, I got you, he said to Frost. I got you is what Chase Young says to just about every quarterback in his path. He leads the nation in sacks with 7. The Buckeye defense has been excellent. And I'll tell you what, Ohio State has caused some fumbles. Fumbles have been a problem for the Cornhuskers. Have to take care of the ball. Notre Dame and Oklahoma can join that 900-win club that Ohio State and Nebraska are already in. SC trying to win as an underdog again. And how about Sonny Dykes and the Mustangs trying to go 5-0 for the first time since before the death penalty for SMU. You know, I mentioned not many upsets, but familiarity breeds contempt. And sometimes that familiarity will lead you to some upsets, LC.
Yeah, Nebraska is a big underdog, but they have a shot at Ohio State. Why? Because their offense was scoring long plays, and the defense harasses the quarterback and makes tackles for loss. Go Big Red. They can do it. They can do it.
Win him down. Just win it down. Go Big Red.
Go Big Red.
Well, you're right. The quarterback, I think, Adrian Martinez is the key because the ability to run and throw. But I think what Reese just said is very important to remember as you're watching games today. When conference teams get together, we start to see conference play. Because of they have a book. They go into your closet, you pull out whatever team you're playing. You've got the last 8 years, what you did, what worked, what didn't work, and that's where you all of a sudden see some upsets. You're thinking, how did this happen? It doesn't make sense on paper, but teams have books on teams, and that's where these conference games start to be really upsets.
That's a good point. Even though you have books on teams, how about a team like LSU and the SEC? You're looking at Alabama. There's no book on that now.
Not right now.
They've tweaked their system. You got this quarterback playing at a high level. So even though you have familiarity in the conference, when you have different tweaks like LSU has, I think it brings intrigue to the conference.
So you're saying no upsets today then?
I don't think so. Not yet. No, not yet.
I will say this. It's early in the year. You're starting to get a lot of this. Right? I want to see how some of these teams handle some of those pats on the back. Like Auburn playing Mississippi State. A little bit of a dangerous game. They're hearing about how great they are in that defense. Notre Dame, they lost, but I think they gained a lot of respect. Now they've got Virginia, mentioned them in the slate, and USC. USC, all they hear about is how bad they are. They keep winning. Now all of a sudden they're starting to get complimented. They go to Seattle. So how these teams handle success.
There's a lot of football to be played.
Yes, there is.
A lot of football to be played.
Hey, you know what? Ohio State's been on the road. They haven't been here.
No.
It's going to be a different environment. No disrespect to our friends in Indiana. This will be a different deal tonight.
Half that stadium will start like
Man, we've got so much ahead on this last Saturday in September for college football. The road to the championship begins here. How impressive was Wisconsin last week? But Northwestern has been a thorn in the side of their running game. You know, Buckeyes got caught being pat on the back after that performance against Michigan a week ago, and also Kinnick Stadium. Next week, Iowa's got Michigan. Iowa's a new rival for Nebraska. Today it's Middle Tennessee State. They're a little banged up in the secondary. Don't get caught peeking ahead. And neutral site showdown, Texas A&M and Arkansas, the Nick Starkel Bowl. Arkansas's quarterback used to play at Texas A&M. I'm going to connect him to Justin Bieber before the show's over, too.
Have to do that.
Coming up inside College Game Day, tough start for Big Blue. We're going to break down what's gone wrong for Harbaugh, what it'll take to right the ship if they can do so this year. Perseverance, personified. Gene Wojciechowski, an incredible story of a 4-time cancer survivor who just wants to play ball.
Odds are, nobody in this room has ever heard of me or really knows anything about my story. In fact, many of you may be wondering why I'm up here speaking today.
You will have a definitive answer to that.
Yeah.
And did the best team to ever play college football call Lincoln, Nebraska home? And if so, which one was it? They got a couple of candidates here.
They do.
A surprise team.
Exactly.
A little hot team. Get the voice going here.
Yeah.
I'm with you. How you like it. You got a little fall dip into it. I'll tell you what.
College Game Day is built by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
You know, Nebraska fans applaud the opposing team, but this is next level. They went to the airport and welcomed Ohio State fans to Lincoln. That's the first time they've done that. There's Low Red.
That's my man right there. I love this dude. And I'm telling you, this guy is right up there with the duck. I love that guy.
I see that guy.
I like it when he ends up doing a handstand.
He'll do all kinds of stuff. We got to keep showing him. He's great.
We'll see Herbie Husker later on, too. This is the only place where our Herbie is the second most popular Herbie.
That's tough to do.
It is a little bit tough. All right, David Pollack is with us. That means it's time for serious football and some Friday night games, one of which that we thought might be entertaining that turned into an absolute bludgeoning. Right off the bat, it was in the snake pit. Maryland, Penn State on
Here we go.
road.
Hey, coming off a bye week. Here we go. Let's go.
It was a blackout, and it quickly turned into all morning for Maryland because here goes Sean Clifford to KJ Hamler.
This dude is unbelievable. KJ Hamler with breaks gas, cut. What do I do? Which one do y'all kick me? You ain't stopping him.
Developing as one of the best playmakers in the Big Ten at this point.
It's already 28-0. Journey Brown will have an unimpeded journey
kind of
into the
running back by committee, you know, right now with Penn State. Yeah.
You got to wonder what happened to Maryland's defense.
Yeah. That was awful.
They're just lucky they didn't go for
It's a good game here.
Arizona State and Cal. It was a good game. Chase Garbers really played well for Cal, but on this scramble, went down hard, left the game, did not return. That meant that UCLA transfer Devon Monster would have to replace him. That's not a good sign for Justin Wilcox's team. Here's another young quarterback that's maturing, Jaden Daniels. You know, Benjamin is just a man.
I love to see Benjamin get the ball out of the backfield. He's having a hard time getting on track, running the ball. Throw it to him. Get it some yards.
Speaking, just square them shoulders up, dude. That dude runs physical and tough. His offensive line hasn't made a lot of holes yet. Yeah. That dude is tough.
He runs with a purpose.
Monster.
Need to play.
Trying to rally them. That's not the play they needed.
Herm's got the doubles going.
Yeah, he does. 24-17. They said they were going to bounce back from that loss to Colorado. They did on the road in emphatic fashion, but the Penn State thing was probably the most impressive.
James Franklin has a football team playing great defense, 4 games, 7 points a game, and he found a quarterback. You know, we wondered what would happen when Tommy Stevens left. And Sean Clifford has kind of come up. He needed a game like that. He led him in rushing, threw the ball well. But this is a, I think, you could say Maryland's not a great team. I don't care. On the road on a Friday night, Penn State, team to remember in the Big Ten East.
Their defensive front seven is by far the fastest I've seen it in the James Franklin era. I mean, they can get after. They can play with anybody in the country. It's going to be interesting to watch their offense continue. Clifford looked really good last night. Pitt game, not so much. So the inconsistencies of protecting him, but that defense is legit
they seem to be a
speed.
team that's flying under the radar right now. But offensively, defensively, and special teams, they're hitting on all cylinders right now going to conference play. Great win for James Franklin.
You know, there's some other teams flying under the radar in the Big 12, and a slate of games that might have gone a little bit unnoticed, including one at Baylor. You know, they haven't trailed for a single second all season. They have played the easiest schedule of all the Power 5 schools, but it gets tougher against Iowa State coming up today in Waco.
And it's going to be an awesome matchup. I'll tell you what, when you look at Matt Rule, a lot of excitement a couple years ago. They're 3-0. Nobody's really talking about them yet. The Bears, first challenge of the season. Can they continue to make plays at the quarterback spot? Can the offense match Brock Purdy? Brock Purdy a week ago was on fire. You've seen him spreading the ball around. You've seen his ability to throw and run. Baylor's biggest test of the season.
Bears been waiting on that game for 3 months. I'm excited for him.
The Kansas and TCU. How about Kansas? The backfield they got with Puka Williams, very fast, dynamic. And then this young man, Khalil Herbert, he gets the tough yards, averaging 9 yards per carry. But
That's
TCU, they're going to bring in a salty defense, #1 in the conference against the run. This should be a pretty good game, guys.
Here's a great game off the radar. Kansas State and Oklahoma State. How about Chris Klein? Comes in from Fargo in North Dakota State, and he looks like he's imitating Bill Snyder, doing the little things right, running the football, playing smart with the quarterback. They better be ready to score because Spencer Sanders has weapons with Wallace on the outside. He can create with his feet. They can run the football with Hubbard. This is going to be really an interesting game and a chance for a lot of points.
Did you say score? When Texas Tech and Oklahoma played,
Pack a sandwich.
Baker Mayfield, you think of Patrick Mahomes in that 66-59 game, and it appears only one side has that type of offense. Oklahoma with Jalen Hurts, nation's leader in QBR, 1 more touchdown than incompletion. Now, Texas Tech, defense has improved, but they gave up big plays against that man, Khalil Tate. One would expect that Jalen Hurts would have the same opportunity, though Tech's defense is much better. Oklahoma's defense has shown a little bit of improvement, too, to at least get to average, which helps, right?
I think the way we measure your defense is always very different. You just said to get to average. Oklahoma's offense is always so good. That's how they have to be. And here's the thing they're doing better than a year ago. They're taking the football away. Like last year, they had 11 takeaways all season. If you could take the football away at just a little rate with that offense and get it back to them again, they can be great. They're untested. I don't know what they are yet.
That's the key.
But they're taking the football away. That's a good sign.
That's the key when I look at their schedule. The teams they've played thus far, like they're untested. Houston, South Dakota, UCLA. I have to see them in conference play, especially going up against Texas, who are a team that we know can score a lot of points. Then I'll be able to better assess how good their defense is compared to last year.
I think Alex Grinch, the thing he has brought in is he's instilled a different attitude. They needed to start from basically ground zero and work their way back up. Worst in the country last year in pass defense. Think about that, Oklahoma. So I know they haven't played anybody yet. You're right, we're going to find out down the road. They're not giving up explosive. They're creating turnovers, and they look like the way they're supposed to look so far. But much bigger test starting today against Tech.
Yeah, Texas Tech, though, is going to be without Alan Bowman. Sooners have scored 38 or more 9 straight times against Texas Tech. Can you tell me the only team for $100 against whom?
You just have those falling out of your pockets.
Because you took it last week. There's only one team against whom Oklahoma has the longer streak of scoring 38 or more. Does anybody know who it is?
I'm going to go
Kansas.
old school Iowa State.
Old school is right, but the answer is Kingfisher College.
Oh, you knew you were safe on that one.
Safe in that one right there.
Never even heard of it.
Bear, did you know that one?
I did not. I wouldn't have gotten in your pocket on that one.
You love these surprise teams unbeaten in the Big 12. You really like both of them. You particularly like the Iowa State game.
I love that game because I think people need to understand like the potential Big 12 title game ramifications that it has. Baylor has Oklahoma at home, Texas at home, Iowa State at home today. Cyclones host Texas. Like the winner of this game today could potentially have a tiebreak advantage for maybe that second spot in the Big 12 title. Thought about putting Baylor on the board today. I love both of these coaches. So I feel bad go to. I think Baylor will win. Came close to putting that one on the board.
You came up almost with Baylor, but instead we have dragons, pirates, and a blue and a
sounds like
and a
Game
white.
sounds like Game of Thrones up here with dragons and pirates.
Give us something on the Game of Thrones board there.
All these games, you don't need to play the biggest games of the day to find an advantage if you think you've got one. I mean, look to the group of 5. Like Western Kentucky lost their starting quarterback, Stephen Duncan, last game against Louisville, but the kid coming in for him is Ty Story, who is a grad transfer for Arkansas. He's played UAB past that first road test at Akron, but I think the Hilltoppers and Tyson Elton, I think at home today as a home dog. Our football power index numbers actually have Western Kentucky as a small favorite in the game, so we'll see what happens. I'll take a shot with the small home dog and see if the Toppers can get that win.
Never go wrong with a home dog on a Saturday. Take
or,
that all day.
Or a road dog at Lane Stadium.
Do we agree?
Shots fired.
Let's see if they're above. Hey, do we agree it's OU in Texas? Bear seems to think Iowa State, Baylor sneaking up there with Texas. I still feel it's OU, Texas. Right. We're seeing improvement from Iowa State and Baylor. I think Kansas State with Chris Klein, Oklahoma State. I think they're scoring. I don't know. Is it still OU, Texas?
I think so. I think it's Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12. There are a lot of teams in the state of Texas who've gotten off to really good starts this year, not just in the Big 12. But you see how SMU is undefeated. We mentioned the first time that's happened since pre-death penalty era back in the early 80s. And then You have North Texas at 2-2. North Texas and Houston tonight was supposed to be Mason Fine against De'Aaron King, but De'Aaron King, after a 1-3 start, the dynamic senior quarterback, going to sit the rest of the season and redshirt and take a do-over for his senior year. Now, you got to understand just how unusual this is. De'Aaron King just ran and threw for a touchdown in his 15th consecutive game to break a record held by Tim Tebow. He accounted for 50 touchdowns last year. This is not a Kelly Bryant or a Jalen Hurts situation. Houston's going to get a big influx of transfers eligible next year, and Dana Holgorsen told me this week this wasn't a plan he concocted for a wait-till-next-year scheme. It came as a result of his concern over King. I talked to some close to King. They say he was initially taken aback by the idea of shutting it down for a whole season. But everybody's singing from the same hymnal, at least for now.
Derek was pretty upset after the game, so I brought him in first thing on Friday morning, and we talked, you know, and I presented every option that was available.
I didn't even think about red shirt. I didn't think about doing any of this until everything was on the table. Until we had the open conversation with me, Coach Holgorsen, my family, and the coaching staff.
I want him to be successful. I want him to have every opportunity to be able to do what he wants to do. It's his life. It's his college career.
I'm staying here. I'm here. If I wanted to leave Houston, go somewhere else, I could have.
Now, look, it's not just Derek. Several other guys were offered the opportunity. Some took it, some didn't. You have the right to do things. I don't know that always makes it the right decision, either for the coach or the player. What's your reaction to all of that?
I just, when I first heard the news, I just assumed, oh, he's going to sit out 4 games he played, and he's going to sit out and transfer to be the next Oklahoma quarterback or wherever it might be. I talked to him last night. I wanted to kind of hear from him what was on his mind and how this whole thing played out, because it just sounded so strange. I just want to say, after talking to him, one thing is incredibly clear. He is a Houston Cougar. He wants to be a Houston Cougar. He's committed to his teammates in that program for now. And this was not a disgruntled player that decided he was going to leave. He was approached and asked if this might be something that would make some sense. Put him in a very awkward position when you're a captain, a senior, and you've been a great player your whole career, and an unselfish player. Moved to receiver as a freshman. This guy's done everything that's been asked of him, and then he gets approached. I've never heard of that. I've never heard a coach say, hey, man, we're going to just kind of wave the white flag the rest of this year and see what we can do next year. You in?
Yeah.
I mean, how would you handle that?
Well, I tell you what, I first heard about it on College Football Live, and I thought this was pretty odd.
Yeah.
Like, I'm starting to listen to the facts, and it seems like an egregious manipulation of the rules. And it seems like a betrayal of the team. Because now you have a whole bunch of other guys who he's practicing. He's doing everything except playing. And the receiver is too, and then a couple other guys. They're practicing, but they're not going to play on Saturdays. They're 1-3. If they're 4-0, did they make this decision?
Oh, no. Absolutely.
Right. Exactly.
No.
So that's, to me, that's how you're manipulating the rule. To me, it just smells like a skunk, and then you're betraying the rest of your team.
But what's the difference then in holding out a younger player who could contribute to the team?
No. It's a big difference. It's a big difference if you're talking about a guy who scored 50 touchdowns a year ago.
I understand that.
Okay,
I'm just saying, I understand that he is a difference. In terms of manipulating the rule, that's not new. I never said always done that.
Did I say it was new?
No.
I just said it's an egregious manipulation of the rule.
First time we've ever seen this, ever.
Welcome to tanking in college football now. Like, you've seen it with the 76ers. You've seen it with the Dolphins currently in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now you have tanking in college football. And here's the thing.
As Dolphins, we take, we take offense to that comment.
It's true. It ain't the Dolphins players' fault. But here's the thing.
He's rebuilding.
And here's what I think. Here's where I think Dana might get himself in trouble. Yes, you're tanking on the right now and playing for the future. You might lose a lot of your team in the future because you're telling the right guard now. By the way, you didn't get picked to tank and be a part of the team next year. You got to go out there and just fight for.
I don't know how he stands up in front of his team today.
And tell me to fight. You got to fight for everybody.
I asked him that when I talked to Dana, and he said, look, they've responded well to it. He said, gave him the choice. Guys are still working hard, and they came out with an energy. One of the things he said is that sometimes a 1-3 team can use a crisis and play a little better. So Obviously, as a coach, he's going to take exception to the idea that they're giving up on the season.
Of course.
But I think I agree with you guys, and I think there's a risk there, and he's
Huge
smart enough
risk.
to know it. He knows there's a risk
And
there.
the thing with King is, I think he wants to be at Houston, but what happens from this day moving forward internally as he's working with the scout team, with his boys in the locker room? Be interesting. I think he wants to stay at Houston. Where does he end up in 2020?
No,
It's
that's
going to be
a
an
good
interesting
question.
story.
That's a good question because you said you spoke to him, but then I read quotes from his dad, too. I'm a dad, you're a dad, you're a dad. He didn't seem so sure that things are going to go as they're on course right now.
The other thing that they've sold to him is that Will Greer developed while sitting out at West Virginia in this system, and typically they believe as a second year in a system for these quarterbacks, they take a big jump. We'll see. And we'll also see who else is able to manipulate the rule from time to time as it works to their benefit. Sports Center coming up tonight after your full day of college football from Los Angeles. Follows UCLA and Arizona.
It's a bad man right there.
Yes,
it's a bad man.
The baddest. 2-2.
So is he. He's a bad man.
They're going to get acquainted tonight, I've got a feeling. Herbie will be on there. Much more on that. Title fight breakdowns from the ring and the octagon. It's all after college football on ESPN and the ESPN app. Hey, we're checking out Section 0. Do I see my good friend Fred Hoiberg in there someplace? The new Nebraska basketball
there he
player?
is. All right.
Hey, can he he was the mayor in Ames. Can he be like associate mayor here?
Oh,
with
yeah.
Scott Frost?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's Frost.
That's in Section 0, sharing a coat with Fred Hoiberg and Nebraska basketball as we say good morning to Maria Taylor.
Good morning, Reese. I love that Fred Hoiberg is wearing the gold chain because he was hanging out with Rick Ross last night at opening night for both men's and women's basketball. It's been all fun here in Lincoln, Nebraska, but the games begin tonight, and Tom Rinaldi sat down with Ohio State's head coach, Ryan Day, and he's a little bit of a self-proclaimed sore loser.
You haven't lost as a head coach here. What kind of loser are you?
That's another good question. It won't be good.
And if the Buckeyes do lose tonight, it might be because of some key plays made by Nebraska's defense. We'll look back at the rich history and tradition of the best Husker defenders of all time, known as those Black Sharks. And Scott Frost. Yeah, there's this frost warning coming into Lincoln, Nebraska. He'll be joining us here at College Game Day as we roll on from Lincoln.
Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Introducing the newest honorary member of the College Football Hall of Fame, the Goodyear Blimp. Goodyear, more driven. That place is going to be filled up. Wow. Tonight, band getting ready for the whole Marching Red experience. That's part of the game day atmosphere here in Lincoln. One of the great scenes for college football and one of the great traditions is the tradition of the black shirts. And there's Kirk. There's Kirk's buddy in there. Follows him around. His favorite. Follows him around. Black shirt's ready to go.
They say you are what you wear. To wear this well, you better play well. The tradition was born in the 1964 season under Coach Bob Devaney. When he wanted to distinguish starters from reserves in practice, the black shirts went to the number ones. The jerseys became badge and symbol for a unit deep on dominance. For decades, the black shirts became the gold standard. From 64 to 01, Nebraska was top 10 in total and scoring defense 21 times. Glover and Peter, Wistrom and Alberts, Brown and Sue. That's the legacy and the challenge. Will this defense be worthy of the wardrobe? Can they bring Nebraska back in black? In Lincoln, the best dress code isn't black tie. It's the black shirt. It's high fashion.
Modern day black shirts will be tested tonight. Our Pizza Hut game day tradition. How about
98,
some of these studs?
98. Scary Man. Ralph Brown, 22. Remember him well?
Yes.
These are some great teams.
And
Mike Mentor. Trev Alberts.
Used to spend a little time in the studio with Trevi and
Jason Peter.
Oh. And his brother Christian.
Yep.
Both those guys. Hey, this is Tom Osborne era when they were just dominant on defense, made huge plays. How about Broderick Thomas?
Did Terrell Farley make the list?
just wait.
Jerry Talmadge.
Wow. Get ahead of me.
I'm sorry. There he is. Oh, he was a bad man.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, my God.
You young bucks might not remember how good this dude was.
Oh, man.
But he's
That dude right there. Yes, sir.
Big Sue. There's a couple of middle guards that were trouble. Hey, since 2015, Bo Pelini's last season was 2014. You see Nebraska's defense hasn't quite been up to that standard, though they're hoping to get there very soon. Scott Frost played quarterback here and had a great career as a defensive back in the NFL and has now turned into that Nebraska legacy as a coach. But he's not a screamer. Maybe got a little bit of that from Osborne, but says he got it from his parents, both of whom are coaches and in the Nebraska High School Hall of Fame, by the way, as well. Said the worst he ever heard his dad say was Judas Priest. But Scott admitted to finally raising his voice last week to tell Adrian Martinez to run the ball. It worked. The quiet, confident, that's what you see on the practice field when we had Scott Frost wired up this week.
Walk, here we go. Let's get started now. Come on. We talked all week about the team not panicking no matter what happened, just falling back on your training and doing your job as fast, as hard as you can do it. Push, Bryce. Let's go. Next play. Let's go. Let's go. Pick your ass up. Let's go. Andy, why aren't we going fast? Why aren't we going fast? I love watching our defense get better and improve, just like our whole team is getting better and improved. And I can't wait to see where this thing goes.
Power left hand.
What up, Leo? It's just being a ball player, running down and being aggressive. That's all it is.
I think this is the guy they really want to see. Maria, you got Scott Frost with you.
I think this is the man with the master plan over here. It's just being a ball player and making plays, and he's done that here at Nebraska. He's been a part of a national championship team. And over the last 10 games, Scott Frost is 7-3 here in Lincoln, Nebraska. First of all, Coach, what do you think about this scene that showed up behind us Saturday morning?
This is unbelievable. I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm grateful that you're here because the nation needs to see these fans. There's no better fans anywhere, and we love them.
One of the favorite quotes that we had in the production meeting is something that you plaster all over your facility, and it's playing with a desire to excel and no fear of failure. So describe the way that you have produced this program and kind of the motto that you want to have throughout.
You know, as a player, I learned this. If you go out and you're worried about a mistake, if you're worried about what your coach is going to say to you if you make a mistake, it's crippling. I don't want our guys thinking about that. If they miss a tackle, if they drop a ball, I don't want them worried about it. I just want them to go make the impact play, the splash play, the play that's going to change the game. And in order to do that, they got to play free.
Okay, we've seen the impact plays. We've seen your players play free. Where are you on the growth process and building here?
We are where we are. We're somewhere on the path of where we were and where we're going to be. It's exciting. The great thing is every time we get an opportunity like today, we get to go play a great team today, and we get to measure ourselves. It's not going to be very long before people are going to be worried about us. We get a chance today to prove it.
Every day is a chance to prove something new. I was talking to Adrian Martinez yesterday, and he said one of the coolest things is I get to play for a coach that has done it here before. What's the biggest challenge that you think for him moving forward, and what do you continue to challenge him with every day?
You know, I think with Adrian and me and all the coaches, we kind of have the weight and expectations of all these people on our shoulders because everybody wants it to be what it should be again. We're headed that direction. Adrian can't think about that too much. He just needs to be a college student. He just needs to be a teammate and go out and play the best he can. The rest is going to take care of itself.
Okay, what do you need the fans to take care of as you welcome Ohio State into this stadium here tonight, Coach? What do you need? I think they're telling you a little bit.
We better get a couple false start penalties and make it tough for them on third down.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, Scott Frost, your head coach here. They're still bowing down to you, Coach, and good luck tonight for sure.
Thank you, Maria.
Scott, Maria, thank you. And if they're going to make it tough on third down, the other side's going to make it tough on that black shirt defense on third down because the man who will wear this jersey tonight, Justin Fields, has accounted for 19 touchdowns. That's second in the nation. You know the story of Fields, a highly touted recruit, number 2 overall, signed with his home state Georgia Bulldogs, could not unseat Jake Fromm and decided in January to transfer to Ohio State. He was granted immediate eligibility there, so he's able to play without sitting out, and that has been a good turn of events for the Buckeyes. The numbers are terrific. 92.5 QBR, accounting for nearly 258
yards per game. So the question about Fields becomes, what do you do with him? Nebraska's been very good at getting pressure, and that would at least be one start to it tonight.
I think the start, ironically enough, is not with Fields. It's with Dobbins. If you're going to stop Fields from throwing the football, you better stop Ohio State's ability to run the ball. If you've not seen Ohio State play, you saw them last year. You saw Dwayne Haskins throwing 50 touchdown passes. It's a very different approach this year with Ryan Day. He's got an athletic quarterback who they move around a lot, but J.K. Dobbins is not getting the national recognition he deserves. So if Nebraska wants to stop somebody, you stop number 2 and then try to get Fields into 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. He's been throwing like it's pass skeleton so far in the first 4 games. Try to get pressure on him, but you got to stop that running game first.
If I was a defensive coach trying to stop Fields, number 1, he's young. So I'd put some new exact blitzes in, not to hit him, not to sock him, but just hit him. And then the next thing, I'd mix up my coverages, man and zone. I'd play a lot more zone. I'd nickel and dime him, make him short, and then throw a few quarters, but not many quarters, throw the nickel and dime passes.
Even though Fields is extremely talented, he hasn't played a lot of football. So you're right, Coach. I would try to throw some looks at him that he has yet to see. I would put a spy on him. Don't forget, he's about 6'3", 225 pounds, very strong, a great runner. You have to put probably your best tackler as a spy on Fields just in case he breaks contain. And the last thing I would do is make him beat me throwing the ball. Prove to me that you can beat my defense throwing the ball. Make him sit in that pocket and have to go through his progression and make accurate throws.
Kid can spin it.
Yeah,
he can.
But he hasn't been challenged, though. You know what I mean?
No, and what's amazing to me is they have 4 new starters on the offensive line from last year. They lost 3 guys to the NFL at wide receiver, and here comes that next wave of wide receivers. No one's really talking about the receiver play. Receiver play has been outstanding for Ohio State.
That's because J.K. Dobbins has been killing it.
They have some depth there, too. Some young receivers coming on for the Buckeyes tonight that Nebraska will have to deal with. Much more coming on this game as we wind our way through this beautiful morning in Lincoln. 371 consecutive sellouts in that stadium. It'll be sold out again tonight. 7:30 Eastern Time. Chris Bauer, Kirk Herbstreit, Maria will have the call on ABC, and it's streaming live on the ESPN app. Still to come, who is the best team ever? Winners of the game of the century, team that had 6 first-team All-Americans. How about Johnny the Jet Rogers, the 71 Huskers, best of all time? And after a close loss to Georgia last week, Brian Kelly said things aren't getting easier. Irish better not underestimate Virginia today.
You want to talk about defining games. It wasn't tonight. It'll be next week.
In 1971, Nebraska had the #1 defense in the country, and Oklahoma had the #1 offense in the country. Nebraska was rated #1, and Oklahoma was rated #2. We were both undefeated, and we figured that whoever won that game was going to win the national championship. I ran a 72-yard punt return back that day. The ball was kicked high enough that I probably should have fair caught, but I never have fair caught. I never would fair catch. If I could get it, we were just going to be on like buttered popcorn.
Here's Wiley's kick. It's high.
Wiley's kick is high. It's up there.
Takes the ball.
Rogers gets it. He's hit and got away.
Back upfield to the 35 to the 40.
He's to the 20, the 30, the 40. He's all the way home. Holy moly, man, woman, and child. Johnny the Jet Rogers just tore them loose from their shoes.
Tore them loose from their shoes.
And we did.
Johnny the Jet Rogers, 1972, he won the Heisman Trophy. That's the year after the game of the century. Rogers, just a spectacular do-it-all man for Nebraska. That 71 squad was deemed by our CFB 150 panel as the top team of all time. I mean, these dudes, they had 6 first-team All-Americans on there. You see the list right now. I'll tell you, a lot of great teams. You're always differentiating, but sometimes you get a little overly influenced by your youth. First season, I remember, 1971, that great Nebraska team with Rich Glover and Jerry Talley and Jeff Kenny. I'm on board with them being the best team of all time.
Yeah.
Who's the best team
You
we've
would
ever
say
seen?
71 over 95 Nebraska? I think they all think 95 Nebraska.
What do you think,
over
95?
95 or 71?
It doesn't
They just say Nebraska, period.
It doesn't matter what you say to them, they're going to cheer and yell. So.
I'm going with the 01 Canes. They have so much talent. Ken Dorsey, Ed Reed, Clinton Portis.
15 first-rounders on that roster.
Yeah,
that was a good team.
Canes.
I mean, all of the teams that made that list are strong.
Yeah.
I'm going to spin it to present day. I want to say, what if I could take all you guys and erase all your preconceived notions, but you keep all your football expertise, you've dropped in, you've seen nothing but this season.
Okay.
Who's the best team in the country?
Wow, I think the best team I've seen, I would probably say Ohio State. Yeah, I think offensively, defensively, they got this guy Chase Young, who's just a wrecking ball at the defensive position. I would say the Buckeyes.
I would say the exact same thing.
Really?
I mean, you talk about offensive, defensive lines, running the football, taking care of the football, being dominant from start to finish. I would say so far, if you were dropped in out of a planet and you knew nothing and no
That's the thing is you have to take away any preconceived thoughts. And what I agree, it's crazy, we all agree on Ohio State. What I would say is offense, defense, but when you play inferior opponents, you do that
But
on every phase.
Like they've done.
You can't help who you're playing.
Exactly.
You can help how you play against it.
Right.
And they've been hitting on all cylinders on both sides of the ball.
No doubt about it.
So.
Very impressive.
LSU is very close to me.
Yeah, but their defense against Texas, see, that's why I give Ohio State the edge.
Let me throw some analytics at you.
Okay.
If you go just what they've accomplished, you know who the #1 team in the country in strength of record is?
Who?
Auburn. Why not Auburn?
Offense.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to play offense.
Exactly. They're like ninth in the conference in offense.
But remember, you've got no preconceived notions. They're doing it.
I'm watching them.
They're doing it against elite competition. It's not.
And that's an important point. I mean, they're doing it against teams that are a lot better, so higher degree of difficulty. But Bo Nick's throwing for 100 yards a game.
It's what you're seeing, though.
I think LSU's that wild card out there. And the LSU-Alabama game, of course, is setting up to be a game of the century.
Oklahoma's a wild card, too.
Yeah.
The Sooners.
You're not scared to death of the LSU defense? You have 38 to Vanderbilt. Everybody's panicking.
Texas against Texas, too. They look very vulnerable. So
I think you expected that, though.
Who's your team?
Who's your team?
You know, I would still have to say, based on what I've seen, who would I pick to win? Be Clemson. But Ohio State's right there. I mean, Ohio State has been really impressive. Need to see a little bit more from Oklahoma. We'll see some of that from the Sooners. They played Texas Tech today and Ohio State tonight. You know what these folks do? They know how to get ready for a football game now. Let's check in with Chef Brandon Hartzer, Pitmaster Shad Sanford from Single Bear Steakhouse. It's a Home Depot game day tailgate. What is that, like Flintstone stuff there? Tomahawk ribeye? Oh, that's going to be good. And they roll that up there. College Game Day from the best to the worst this week. Maria and David will give you, you had one job. And speaking of jobs, our good friend Pat Fitzgerald from Northwestern. Well, Pat has a message for those online experts who believe that they could do at least one aspect of a coach's job better than the people who are paid to do it. Pat?
There's 40,000 experts on Twitter that can call plays for me, so my email address is #IDon'tCare. Okay, so shoot that out.
We have great crowds every week. I don't remember one being engaged with the show like this. Man, these Nebraska fans looking for victory. Number 901 in the middle. Well, that's not real friendly about Ohio State, but, you know, hey, it's all in the spirit of competition. 4 games into the season as we roll on College Game Day. Tom Rinaldi is going to check in with Ohio State head man Ryan Day. Opens up about the most difficult decision he's had to make since taking the job. I told you they were engaged and you didn't believe it. Buckeye fans call him the team up north. Turns out they've gone south. What in the world is wrong with Michigan, and can they fix it? And guess who's coming to be the celebrity guest picker? Gabrielle Union, Nebraska native, superstar actress. She'll be joining us along with LC for the headgear selection.
Woo-hoo. Can't wait.
There he is. Here he comes. Here he comes.
Here we go.
Here he comes. Look out.
Oh, man.
Have him fall down when he goes
There you go. That's what I like. I like it when he falls down and he looks over.
Rolls over.
We have football coming up soon, noon on ESPN. Immediately following us, it'll be Texas A&M and Arkansas. Boy, the Hogs have really been scuffling. Austin San Jose State, Coach Zero Sugar counting us down to kick off just about 2 hours away before these SEC foes get together again.
Yeah, I tell you what, you look at the Aggies offense, and they've struggled to run the ball so far this season. Last year, they averaged 219. This year, only 144 yards a game on the ground. But this might be what the doctor ordered, because Arkansas's defense, they've been getting shredded in the running game. I expect Texas A&M to run the ball and go play action with Kellen Mond today.
Yeah, Mississippi State and Auburn. It's a be careful game for Auburn. Mississippi State is a football team that can be dangerous. Auburn's going to obviously rely on their defense and what they can do, but how about the play of this young quarterback, Garrett Schrader? Outstanding at running the ball. We just talked about Bo Nix. Going to have to make a few plays through the air and see if they can get their running game going against Joe Moorhead and the Bulldogs.
Well, Auburn's up to a 4-0 start. I mentioned strength of record. It is the most impressive in the country. It's about to get tougher with a trip to Florida and then trip to LSU coming up next month. Now, don't be shocked if Mississippi State tries to go with Tommy Stevens today. You probably see Schrader as well. Auburn got embarrassed by Mississippi State last year, and really, they're not looking ahead to Florida at all. They were locked in on the Bulldogs.
No, they can afford to. I tell you what, Auburn, they've relied heavily on their defense so far. I mean, Bo Nix, the freshman quarterback, he's a great story. His dad played there in his first start against Oregon, through the game-winning touchdown. Fantastic story. But the offense right now, they're number 9 in the conference in total offense. So they're going to have to find more offense as the season progresses. They'll win today because their defense is outstanding, but the offense is going to have to catch track at some point.
Yeah, Kevin Steele doing an incredible job. 4th year now at Auburn, doing an awesome job at winning the line of scrimmage, freeing up these younger linebackers who are playing faster than they were a year ago with the veterans. I think Gus Malzahn deserves a lot of credit. He's the head coach, but he's gone back to play calling for the first time in 4 years, and he's doing a very good job of putting his pride to the side with a true freshman quarterback, and he's calling a complimentary football game. He's putting his team in a position to win games, and he'll punt, or he's throwing high percentage throws the best he can with Bo Nix. That's going to get better each week, where Bo Nix is going to become more of a weapon. But right now, I think Gus is doing a good job of managing where he is with that defense.
AP, Auburn has moved up to number 7 in the AP poll. And the reason it did, they're the only team in the nation beat 2 ranked teams, Oregon and Texas A&M. They're doing with defense and running game and Bo Nix. They're a good football team. I'm not surprised that you didn't mention that they're number 1 team in the nation.
He brought him up.
He did. But he did some sort of algorithm he got.
He picked Clemson.
Yeah, some sort of algorithm.
His own opinion.
Auburn's
a little bit more offense there.
His metrics said Auburn.
These metrics said Auburn.
Came up with.
These metrics say Clemson.
I get it.
Hey, when you look at this, Bear, do you like Mississippi State and the number today at all, or does Auburn? They got outrushed like 349
That's
to
the thing.
90
I worry
last year.
about Auburn's ability to score points, but that Auburn defense is so good. It does seem like a lot of points to lay here. So I think if I had to play the game, I'd take Mississippi State. But you were talking about strength of record, and you know who number 2 is? Is Georgia. And I think they're a team I was going to bring up with that last segment. Like, I almost think there was this perception that Georgia's perception took a hit last week because they didn't blow Notre Dame out like they were expected to win by 17, and they didn't. That was a really good Notre Dame defense. The defense played great, and applaud Notre Dame for playing great and keeping that game close. But Georgia's defense was fantastic, overcame some injuries in the game. Like, I think Georgia almost is in a position that a lot of people are apologizing that they didn't win by
Interesting.
Just
Interesting
throwing that
thought,
out there.
and I agree with it. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I do too, but I will say I walked out of there Saturday night going, I wanted to see more from Georgia.
See,
I don't think that's unusual.
But you know what? That's great, though. If you're Kirby Smart, you can take that approach with your team. Like, people are still like, you know how coaches love to play that motivational deal.
I think everybody walked out of there like, hey, how about Brian Kelly and Notre Dame?
Nice job, boy.
That's what I think.
Okay. All right. Saturdays in the South. If you love SEC football, or even if you're just fairly interested, Nebraska fans, this is a tremendous series. Part 5, Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time. It's on the SEC Network. It is a history, the SEC football. There has been quite a bit of history in the ACC that has unfolded at Doak Campbell Stadium. Today, when Florida State plays North Carolina State, it will be the 500th game that the legendary voice of the Noles, Gene Deckerhoff, has called.
17 seconds, high formation now. Here's Winston rolling right, throws the pass on the other. It's caught! It's caught! It's caught! Touchdown FSU!
Touchdown FSU, touchdown FSU. Will they say that often enough against the Wolfpack in the ACC slate?
Well, they hope so. They got the quarterback's going to be Alex Hornibrook. He's a transfer with about 30 starts under his belt, more than 30 actually. He's a guy who's going to manage the offense, but he has to get the ball to the hands of that man right there. Cam Akers leading the conference right now in rushing yards. The defense has struggled at times, but they've shown the ability to get to the quarterback. They're going to have to make sure to get some sacks today.
The Jeff Collins Bowl, the former Temple coach, is now the Georgia Tech coach. He's back in his old stomping ground. Tech coming off a loss to the Citadel. They used 3 quarterbacks, and this may get worse before it gets better because Temple's Sean Bradley and Efine Maijay. Man, I'm going to tell you, that defense pretty good. 3:30 Eastern time. Tech on the road against Temple.
All right, Wake Forest and Boston College. This is the most underrated head coach maybe in the country, Dave Clawson. He's got a quarterback, Jamie Newman, who is outstanding. 320 yards a game through the air. Boston College defense against Virginia Tech and Rutgers, allowing too many explosives through the air. A.J. Dillon will be the key. Look for Wake to load up to try to slow that running game down.
That game's 3:30 on the ACC network, and it might be Wake's biggest challenge before they get to 9-0 before Clemson. Because what I saw from Virginia Tech last night, I'm not sure I can buy them on anything. But Clawson's done a great job.
Terrific job. He's in his 20th year as head coach, and he's won at every level. And he's won 3 straight bowl games at Wake. That's a tremendous. He's the reason they're winning at Wake. There's no question about it.
No, but when he took over in 2014, they averaged 14 points a game. Right now, they're averaging 38 points a game, and he's just been doing it the right way, building it. He's got a great quarterback in Jamie Newman. Let's stick in the ACC because I just want to touch on Florida State. Des just showed you some highlights of Alex Hornibrook. When you watch Florida State, you don't sit there and watch them and think, boy, if we could just get a few more athletes on this roster, they'd have a chance to compete. They take the field with as good, if not better, talent than every team that they play. It's a culture thing. Exactly. It's an attitude thing. It's doing the little things right. I just wonder if Alex Hornibrook and all the starts that Des just alluded to, over 30 in Madison, is a guy that can kind of calm the waters, a guy that can kind of bring some veteran presence and leadership to a team that has talent. And all of a sudden, could Florida State be a team to all of a sudden look out for in the ACC?
The key is their defense.
I know.
They can't play defense.
But I'm telling you, you've seen it before. You insert a quarterback, he can impact the defense as much as the offense.
Listen, earlier in the season, I thought that Hornibrook was going to be the starter. And I thought that he was a guy who could calm the waters. He can get the team to rally around the offense. They have a really good defense. Kurt's right. They have athletes on both sides of the ball. Mentally, though, they just don't get it. They can't get over the hump. I think a guy like Hornibrook, with his leadership skills, he can get these guys to start believing in what they're doing, and then they can start winning some games because he got Cam Akers, one of the best running backs in the country. I think he's going to be okay today. So watch Hornibrook. He's a good leader.
He's put up good numbers. There's still some question about James Blackman's health. Willie Taggart has said if Blackman's healthy, Blackman's starting, at least for now. Bear, you got a Game of Thrones pick for us here?
We're
actually sticking all day,
actually,
by
this
the
is
way.
more like a Dungeons and Dragons or the Pirates of the Caribbean there, but East Carolina on the road against Old Dominion. I think ODU has gotten a little bit more of a public perception because they played Virginia Tech, the 2 in-state schools, competitive the last couple weeks. But this is a team that's 127th in the country in yards per play. And while East Carolina has a couple of blowout losses, Navy, NC State, those are excusable. Those are good teams. So I think new regime at ECU, Holton Airlers go on the road today. Just might walk out with the win, but I'll definitely take them. Plus that 3 points on the road.
So we got the Dragon and the Fire. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea. Old Dominion's more of a basketball school. What What is that, a
Monarchs? That is Monarchs.
Monarchs?
Yeah.
We're going against the Monarchs.
P.D. Sessions, old school.
All right.
Beat Steve Lapis' Villanova team in a 3-14 game.
By the way,
in 95
your best game of the day is Iowa State and Baylor, and you don't have it on the board.
Not my favorite. It's my favorite game of the day because I love the implications.
Sure.
Potentially of it.
On the bus.
Two head coaches.
Oh,
yeah. That'll be on the bus, and 602 will be on the bus today.
Okay. A lot of horse racing.
Oh, is that what it is? Horse racing?
TPG. Here we go.
All right. David and Maria, Bears got more than one job. You got to watch Iowa State and Baylor.
Horses.
Watch the horses on 602.
That's why no one gets to sit in Bear seat but Bear. And that's why David and I have to come all the way out here. We got to get away from everything. And now it's time to take a look at who had one job but couldn't really pull it off in week 4. You had one job, presented by Geico. And David, I want to start with a guy who has done a really good job of just pancake blocking people.
Go to
Adrian
sleep.
Maggie, yeah.
That was nice. Go get him again. That's so he's doing his job.
So
Look at that.
Vanderbilt's not doing their job.
Yeah, if you want to blitz, come get some. I like to stare down and then get him again.
Okay, what if you're an offensive lineman, you're doing your job, and then excited for a QB and you punch him in the
Whoa.
No?
That seems aggressive. I like the pickup and then
Why would you do that?
you just better alert him that's coming, or else some QBs might go down and take a knee.
Okay, the next thing, I don't know how I feel about the push-up robot that we saw at Virginia
I don't
Tech.
like this. I don't like robots taking over the world.
Right, if your job is to hype up your crowd, does a robot get you going?
No, it doesn't get me going.
No?
And it just
Okay.
it's just scary. It's going to run through the crowd.
It is a little freaky. iRobot. We're not doing it. Vernon Davis trying to get a little hurdle in here. Let's go.
Oh. See, what happened was he didn't go low. Vernon Davis expected him to go low, take his legs out.
Oh, no. That's essentially how David would look if he tried to hurdle me or anybody else that was playing defense against him. I know. And I would back away and you would lose. Always never doing his job, obviously, Reese.
Ryan Day apparently does his job by chewing ice cream. I just saw on that sign. He's a fan cam going to capture all of these signs. Got a little history of the sign coming up in College Game Day a little bit later on. Something you might not know. Today's guest picker, Gabrielle Union, brought to you by our good friend at Wheels Up. He is a huge Nebraska fan. Tell you about the option offense, flag shirt defense, you name it, Gabrielle can take care of it. Still to come on College Game Day, Gene Wojciechowski with an inspirational story of a 4-time cancer survivor, Casey O'Brien, and his desire to keep playing football.
That's what he had to look forward to. That was his goal. That's what got him up every day. No doubt in our minds, football has kept him alive.
College Game Day, built by the Home Depot, is brought to you by Pizza Hut. Only Pizza Hut has the new stuffed Cheez-It Pizza, bringing 2 of your game day favorites together as one.
You saw opening night for the Husker Hoops with Rick Ross there, and then in Omaha, Gabrielle Union, Warren Buffett, Dwayne Wade, they're throwing the bones to get ready for the game. Tom Osborne was there too. I tell you what, these fans are ready for the Ohio State showdown.
It was so loud that my ears were like bleeding, it seemed, and I couldn't hear nothing.
This is a tough place to play. Going into an environment like this, there's a lot of things that can go on.
Being in Nebraska, that's probably the only good thing they have over there.
Jukes the defender, 10, 5, touchdown, Nebraska!
You talk about 90,000 fans wearing red, adrenaline just started pumping.
It is history, 13-0. Bring that trophy back to Lincoln.
They will have an atmosphere ready for the number 5 team in the land, and some say maybe the best team in the country tonight. Saturday Night Football, 7:30 Eastern on ABC, streaming live on the ESPN app. You see the passion that Nebraska has for football, but this extends beyond the field. There's a communal feel. There's a spirit and a feeling of unity. Remember this moment, 2013 spring game when Jack Hoffman has been battling brain cancer, gets in the game, scores a touchdown, absolutely beloved here in Lincoln. And guess who is with Maria right now?
Reese, that's right. It's Jack Hoffman and his father, Andy. And can you believe it? Jack is in 8th grade now. So my first question is, when you see that video, Jack, what are the memories that come to mind from that run?
I remember I was just so nervous. My dad was practicing me. I didn't know what the end zone line was, so I just ran all the way back.
And you scored a touchdown easily, and that was in 2013, Dad. You were able to watch the video, too. What has that moment meant for you and your entire family?
Well, it's really a dream come true for a father. I mean, every father that grows up in the state grows up wanting to play for Nebraska, and then when they have a son, if they're fortunate enough to have a son, they want their son to play for Nebraska. And so really it was a dream come true, and we were just so grateful for the opportunity. And this has been a tremendous state, and we're just so grateful for Husker fans and this football program and all that they've done for Team Jack and our family.
Well, another extraordinary thing that's happened in this story is that now, Jack, you get to live out one of your dreams of playing football. You're a center for your 8th grade squad, and you've already played in a game. So talk to me about what it's like to play the game that you love now.
Back in 2013, football was a dream. I was never 100% sure that I'd actually get to play full contact football, but it's just been a dream come true.
And you mentioned Team Jack, so I want to hear more about what the foundation has done and just all of the awareness that you've been able to raise for pediatric cancer.
Well, really the run was not just a score for the red team, it was a score for pediatric brain cancer. We've been able to raise national awareness for the leading childhood cancer cause of death. This is an underfunded disease that needs money for research. Jack shouldn't be the exception, he should be the rule. It shouldn't be a big deal that a kid with a brain tumor gets to play junior high football. All kids with any kind of cancer should get to play their sports and make their dreams come true. It's the exception, though, because pediatric cancers are so incredibly underfunded. We need money for research.
And it's been extraordinary to see how Team Jack has done and absolutely how this university has supported you guys. This shirt right here that Jack is wearing, over 40,000 of these have been sold just because of the support that Nebraska has. So, Reese, it's an extraordinary story that continues to move forward and bring positivity to families all over. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Maria's football programs raised more than $250,000 for this cause. And September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and we stand with Jack and all of the others who continue in their fight. In the Big Ten today, in Spartan Stadium, on the banks of the old Red Cedar, Michigan State will take on Indiana. I dare you, Desmond, to get a read on Michigan State. I dare you.
I tell you what. Hey, Sparty's offense came alive last week against Northwestern, scoring 31 points. Elijah Collins, he's emerged as the workhorse, taking some pressure off of Brian Lewerke. The Hoosiers will throw the ball, but will they have time? The Spartans' defense is led by Joe Bocci, and that's a very salty group right there.
Let's look at Minnesota and Purdue at West Lafayette. Gophers getting it done through the air, throwing the ball at Tanner Morgan, Rashad Bateman, Tyler Johnson. Got to get their backs going. It's not been a good start for their running game. Elijah Sindar looks like he's going to try to go. He's concussed here. They had a bye week to try to get him healthy. He'll need to come up and make plays and get the ball to number 4.
Northwestern and Wisconsin, you know that Jonathan Taylor ran for more yards in the first quarter against Michigan than he has in 2 games against Northwestern. He's averaged about 60 yards a game. He's put the ball on the ground a couple of times. And Northwestern's offense has been awful. 30 of their 47 points against UNLV, nearly half of their yards. Fitz looking for help from anywhere. Well, okay, not anywhere.
I understand there's 40,000 experts on Twitter that can call plays for me, so my email address is hashtag I don't care, okay? So shoot that out. We got to be better, and we're going to work to be better. So anybody that's negative, I respect it, and I don't care.
Love that.
Okay. What do you call him? Like the congressman, the governor? What is he? The senator?
Flashback uniform.
Those
throwbacks.
Throwbacks.
Yeah, Northwestern's going to wear them too. Under Armour. And by the way, Pat, you got to have one of the @ symbols and a .com or a .edu or something for your email address if you really want the suggestions. Coke Zero Sugar counts us down to kick off just about an hour and 38 minutes and change away from Northwestern. He's really done well against Wisconsin. You know, last time Jonathan Taylor had run for 100 yards in 8 straight games, the streak was broken by Northwestern. But are we sleeping on Wisconsin a little bit?
Probably, but I tell you what, Northwestern, they're going to have their hands full with Jonathan Taylor. He's a different back this year. Not only is he running the ball extremely well, but he's catching the ball out of the backfield, too. So they've added a different element to their offense. He's going to have a big game against Northwestern.
There's no letdown for Wisconsin. They've won 10 of the last 12 games, running the ball, playing good defense. Now, they're number 8 in the AP poll. I expect them to stay there 5 more weeks. And then they got to go to Columbus.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens. The question about where people sleeping on Wisconsin, I think, is valid because in Chicago, the Big Ten Media Lunch, everybody's talking about Nebraska coming out of the West. One thing I'll tell you, just to remind you about Nebraska, since Barry Alvarez, it's the DNA right now in Madison. His last year was 2005. For the last 14 years, they've averaged 10 wins a year in Madison. So you can say whatever you want about players that come and go. Paul Chryst is doing a great job, and he's been able to kind of maintain that tough guy, offensive lineman, special back in Taylor. They're too, I think they have too much maturity on their team to worry at all about overlooking Northwestern. They'll be fine. But this is a great program.
Yeah. I'm so close to putting them in an Elite 8 of teams that are national championship type contenders.
Oh, yeah.
Close, man.
And the quarterback just keeps coming to give some balance to what they're doing with Taylor.
No doubt. Kirk touched on Minnesota and Purdue. That'll be in Ross-Ade Stadium today. As the Gophers undefeated, they haven't really controlled the game very much. But hey, they just ask you how you finish. Sendelar ready to go. Rondell Moore, you're not sure what's going on with him. You know, Kirk mentioned the Big Ten Media Lunch is one of the great things they do in the preseason. A player speaks. You have big-time stars like Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins, Amir Abdullah, all have delivered memorable speeches. I emceed this event this summer, and it wasn't a superstar player who spoke. It was a third-string holder from Minnesota as we join Gene Wojciechowski.
Reese, Casey O'Brien has had 17 surgeries, more than 500 stitches from those surgeries. His left knee doesn't have any cartilage or ligament. That same leg is held together by cadaver bones and metal rods. So when the Big Ten asked him to be the keynote speaker at that kickoff luncheon, well, Casey didn't flinch, even though he was speaking in front of 1,500 fans, coaches, players, and executives from the league. Then again, Casey O'Brien never flinches.
Odds are, nobody in this room has ever heard of me or really knows anything about my story. In fact, many of you may be wondering why I'm up here speaking today.
The odds. They've never been in his favor. But that hasn't stopped 20-year-old Casey O'Brien from defying them.
I wanted to play football again, and I was not going to take no for an answer.
It turns out the odds have met their match. What possessed you to think that you could do this?
I don't know. I mean, I've kind of been the underdog for the last 5 years of my life, so it would just add to the story. Growing up, my entire life had revolved around sports. I was always going from one practice to the next. 6 years ago, I had a pain in my left knee that would not seem to go away. December 14th of 2013, I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, an extremely rare form of bone cancer.
He's like, I'll be okay, I'll be okay. And that was the hardest because we knew it was a very serious situation. And he said, I'll be okay.
At 13 years old, I was told that I needed a full knee replacement and 9 months of chemotherapy, and that my football career was now over.
Doctors removed a softball-sized tumor from his knee. But in January of 2015, they discovered the cancer had now moved to Casey's lungs.
The odds flip on you when you get it the second time.
You know the numbers.
Yeah. Numbers are not fantastic.
Have you ever looked at what the numbers are, the survival rate?
No.
So if I had them right here, you would prefer me not to say them to you?
No. I was gonna battle cancer my way, and I want to take my life back. And I want to figure out a way to play football again. In my junior year of high school, I made my return to playing varsity football. In our season opening game, I held every extra point in a win and checked into the hospital for a week of chemotherapy the following morning.
That's what he had to look forward to. That was his goal. That's what got him up every day. No doubt in our minds, football has kept him alive.
Later, during Casey's junior year at Creighton-Durham Hall High School in St. Paul, he overcame a third bout of cancer.
I ended up having a lung surgery and had like 60 stitches in my lung and 2 dislocated ribs, and played in our section game 8 days later.
When it came time for college, he chose Coach P.J. Fleck and the hometown Gophers, the only FBS program to medically clear him to walk on.
Why 13? When I sat down with him, I told him that I'm not coming to stand on the sideline. I'm coming here to play.
He's relentless. His response mechanism to what has happened to him is not really technically human.
The osteosarcoma was also relentless. In January of 2018, it returned for a 4th time. Casey underwent another lung surgery, but didn't miss a snap that spring.
Hey, let's go! Work on 3! 1, 2, 3!
Where are you on the depth chart right now?
Right now, I'm the number 3 holder behind 2 redshirt seniors.
You've never set foot on the field during a game?
Not yet.
We've always dreamed of, you don't want to do this, but faking an injury so he can run out there, or just, losing your helmet or something, crazy like that shouldn't really happen.
We've talked about it. I don't know.
You guys have?
I don't know if he'll do it, but we've talked about it a few times. We just got to prepare every day like I'm going to have the chance to play, and we'll get there when we get there.
Have you played it out in your mind at all?
Every night. It's played in my head 1,000 times.
Casey spent nearly 300 nights as a patient at the University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital.
All right.
Now the redshirt sophomore spends his days there as a visitor and a reminder of what is possible.
Dear Casey, thank you for being an inspiration to me and for giving me hope. You are what you wear. Unreal. Love, Braxton. Ooh, I like it. This is awesome.
When you've been there, and you can look those children in those eyes they have and say, never give up, don't ever give up. It's on a different level. It's on a different level. And he's so good with those young people. He's so good with those kids.
The wristbands.
Each one is for a different boy or girl or family that I've met in the hospital.
Of those 7 wristbands, are all of them alive?
No.
You knew those kids?
Yeah. It's not easy at all. I know that it definitely could be me in their shoes. I want them to know that when they watch a Gopher game on Saturdays, that they're right there with me.
There's a reason why there's survival odds. And the reason why there's survival odds is that because someone beat it. And that ends up being Casey.
All the tests, scans, blood work, loss of hair, chemotherapy has all been worth it. Because I now know that tomorrow is not promised. My name is Casey O'Brien, and I am a walk-on placeholder at the University of Minnesota. I am also a 4-time cancer survivor. Thank you.
Osteosarcoma is the same type of cancer that claimed the young life of Purdue superfan Tyler Trent early this year. Casey was so impressed and so moved by the effort by the Purdue family to embrace Tyler during his battle that he sought out Purdue coach Jeff Brom at that kickoff luncheon and personally thanked him for that support. I talked recently with Brom, and he said that he roots every day for Casey's health, and he hopes that he gets in a game soon. And Reese, for the record, Casey has now gone 15 consecutive months with cancer-free scans.
That was a great piece, Gene, and I'm not sure there was better news anywhere than that. As I mentioned, I heard that speech. Not a single person in that room didn't leave being elevated just by hearing him talk. That was a really great piece, and wish our best to Casey. We got to get him out on the field, right?
Yeah,
Casey out there to hold something for the Golden Gophers, who are unbeaten. We got plenty of football coming up, noon Eastern time. Texas Tech and Oklahoma. There is Jalen Hurts, tops in the nation in QBR. Coach Zero Sugar counting us down to kickoff in Norman. And the Sooner Express will try to keep going there. Also counting down to kickoff in Ann Arbor. Under an hour and a half until Michigan tries to get things going against Rutgers.
Just what the doctor ordered for Jim Harbaugh. Rutgers coming into Ann Arbor to try to get things right before they take on the Hawkeyes next week.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about what's wrong with Michigan coming up, and Coach Zero Sugar counting us down to kickoff here on ESPN. Following College Game Day, Texas A&M and Arkansas. Hogs, I tell you what, it's been a rough go for the Aggies. I feel like they've underachieved. Jimbo's talking about cleaning up some stuff. It's been enough, maybe that's what the doctor ordered for them,
could
too.
be.
And also, counting down to kickoff at Syracuse, Holy Cross and Syracuse, Dino Babers. Maybe again, but there are a lot of prescriptions being handed out.
Exactly. That's what the doctor ordered. Saturday.
Reaching deep there.
Make sure you get a little something. Still ahead, Tom Rinaldi sits down with Buckeye head coach Ryan Day.
There's not too many people who, the first time they put a whistle around their neck, didn't think about being the head coach at Ohio State. All the great coaches that have come before and the great history of Ohio State, that's the thing that hit me the most.
And for all of the fans, both here and at home, stay tuned for more Pizza Hut Home Team Fan later on in the show.
Guys, together, we can do anything. But let's not forget to be tidy and pick up after ourselves. Who's with me?
You can't have a halftime speech without the head coach.
No? All right.
And you can't have football without the Hut.
Countdown to Kickoff is brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Share a Coke this football season with your friends, family, and fans.
Coming this week on Countdown, Randy Moss ranks the best catches from today's college football action. And with some help from Napoleon Dynamite's Uncle Rico, the story of how Minshew Mania has followed the rookie QB from Washington State to Jacksonville. Join us tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Back to you guys in Lincoln.
Oh, I love that Sammy just dropped the Uncle Rico reference there. The 100th meeting between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati on Monday Night Football.
I apologize. I apologize. I'm a longtime Bengals fan, so want to get that out there to the Monday night crew.
Pittsburgh's won the last 8, you know there, Herbie.
Is that right?
Yeah, it is. 8 Eastern on ESPN. Coverage begins with Monday Night.
Only 8.
At 6 o'clock Eastern time. Let's check in for this week's Home Depot Pro Customer of the Week. It's Michael Olderback from Cabrello's property. His game day traditions were built here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Congratulations to Michael as our tailgate pro. Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill. When Matt Brown was with us on TV, he used to text Dabo and ask him for keys to the game. I go ahead and send him Dabo. It won't help today. go ahead.
Oh, man, I tell you what, Clemson and North Carolina, this game here is going to be fun.
The one thing about their ability is they can run, they can throw. It's been off to a little bit of a slow start. They're not quite tracking. Sam Howell, the young freshman quarterback, he's got weapons. You know, they'll challenge you vertically if you give him time to throw. And he's got also a couple backs that have the ability. But this defense with James Kowski leading the way, Brent Venables coaching at a very high level right now.
Number 2, Alabama and Ole Miss. Have you seen the Alabama receivers? This is how ridiculous they are. They're playing rock, paper, scissors to figure out who's going to get the touchdown route. You know, Henry Ruggs is apparently the best rock, paper, scissors player you've ever seen.
He's doing a lot of that. He's winning a lot of ways, different ways.
Alabama has beaten Ole Miss by a combined score of 128-10 the last 2 years, and Ole Miss's pass defense is one of the worst in the country. It is going to be a long day for the Rebels in Tuscaloosa, but maybe it's not such a foregone conclusion that Alabama and Clemson are above the rest. In the preseason, look at the gap between 1 and 6, and now in the FPI, that gap is much smaller. As David Pollack is back, is the gap smaller between Alabama, Clemson, and the field than it's been?
Absolutely. When we started the season, most of us put Alabama and Clemson in the playoff, and we just kind of started with the next 2 teams. Like, who's going to be the next 2 teams to fill? I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4 teams right now that I could see beating Alabama or Clemson. And listen, I know they're great, but I think there's some great challenges along the way. I think this college football season is going to be more interesting down the stretch than we've had.
I tell you what, when the season started, I didn't really have Alabama at the top. I thought Clemson would be there, but I thought Georgia would be one of the top teams, and they've done absolutely nothing to make me think otherwise. And now you look at Oklahoma, I think they're going to be a player. And then a team we're going to see in the stadium behind us, not Nebraska, Ohio State. I think they're going to have something. In my opinion, I think the gap has gotten much smaller, guys, much smaller.
You know, I think you're right. If you go all the way back to before we saw a game, I think most people, it was almost like when Tiger was in his prime, it was like Tiger Woods versus the field.
Yep.
It was Alabama and Clemson. It's going to be the 5th time, oh boy, here we go, versus the field.
Yep.
And now I think after watching a month of football, I feel like there's 6 teams that are kind of up there. Throwing their hat into the ring, if you include LSU and Oklahoma and Ohio State and Georgia with those other 2. So, yeah, I think the gap has definitely gotten tighter. It makes it more interesting.
Yeah, I think so, too. And I think Auburn and Wisconsin are sitting right there on the edge.
Yeah.
You know, all of these guys all said they thought that Ohio State was the best team in the country when we were out in the octagon. You remember Ohio State won the first college football playoff, and they've been really good, sort of hanging around the periphery of the playoff the last couple of years, that one faceplant seemingly vexing them. But as Tom Rinaldi joins us now, so doubts about the Buckeyes, Tom, centered around new quarterback and to a larger degree the new coach. But, Tom, it seems as if the Buckeyes have found their groove.
Well, Reese, when Ryan Day took over at Ohio State, his first head coaching job, he knew he wanted to honor what Urban Meyer had built, but also shape the program in his own image, strike a new vibe. One small example, he had his young son, RJ, during fall camp, stand up in front of the entire team and begin to dance to the song Ballin' by Mustard and Roddy Ricch. That started a small tradition where other players get up in meetings and dance before they get down to business. In translation, yeah, it's a new vibe, but the Bucks are still balling.
Cake set in the air from Urban Meyer, and he will go out a winner.
The moment, Rose Bowl, post-game in the locker room.
25th football coach at The Ohio State University.
When Urban turns and puts the whistle around your neck. What's the first thought you had, honestly?
It's kind of a blur, to be honest with you. There's not too many people who, the first time they put a whistle around their neck, didn't think about being the head coach at Ohio State. All the great coaches that have come before and the great history of Ohio State, that's the thing that hit me the most.
Where's the whistle?
It's in my office, right next to the picture of Coach putting it around my neck.
Why not use it?
Because if I used it, I'll probably be chewing on it and yelling and screaming. It'll get ruined fast.
Flat! Run away, flat! See how fast that's going to happen?
Both in terms of the symbolic and the concrete, you made a decision right away regarding the head coach's office. What did you do?
We kind of changed the insides of it. They can walk in and sit down on the couch, and I want to be approachable. I want to make sure they know they can always come in and have conversations with me. When someone comes in there, it feels like home. And if we call this family and that this is their new home, that's their living room.
You know Urban as well as anybody, and you know that in March or in April or any day on the calendar, it could feel at any moment like 4th and 1.
To hell with that! We don't want to coach average. I don't want to be around you. Why be around average?
How often do you want it to feel like 4th and 1?
I think that's the balance, and that's the art of coaching right now. I think that they have to feel loved. They have to feel like they're a part of something. They have to feel positive.
Good strain, Nick. Good strain, Nick. Good strain. Good strain.
But at the same time, have that edge to them and that uncomfortable feeling that they're going to fight and really work really, really hard.
How do you find that?
Yeah, I don't think there's an easy answer. Every day you wake up in the morning and say, how can I address this? How can I make our team tough? But then also create that love that they want.
I just want you to tell me, as I show you this picture, what you see.
Okay, I know exactly what happened here. We were at William & Mary. It was a tough game, and I kind of launched myself into the end zone and scored. And at that point, it was within a touchdown. We actually lost the game, and that hurt when I landed on the ground right there.
Into the end zone for a touchdown, Ryan Day.
How would you rate the athleticism of the quarterback in that picture?
Not as good as it might look right there, no.
Fields off his back foot. Another Buckeye touchdown.
You haven't lost as a head coach here. What kind of loser are you?
It won't be good, but We all are going to do everything we can to win and make this great and be here for the next 20 years. But, you know, when something doesn't go well, we have to hang in there and handle it like men.
Good ball. That's the timing right there.
What's one thing you could not have known prior to that whistle going around your neck that you know now?
You can say all you want that you understand what it means to carry the burden of the wins and losses of Ohio State. It's on you at the end of the day. And there's nothing that can prepare you for that, because I know what's at stake. I know what these people expect. And so, you know, in my mind, I'm so competitive that I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make and continue it to be great.
An interesting side note to that moment where you saw Day flip over the defender from William & Mary into the end zone. Earlier in that game, he had actually landed hard and separated his SC joint, which connects the sternum to the clavicle. He stayed in the game, continued to play. They would lose, but it says plenty about his toughness. As for how he thought he'd react if his quarterback now did that, Day said, I would say, no. Is he okay? Okay, good play. Good play. That's what he'd say. Certainly the athleticism between him as a quarterback and the guy he's got now, guys, that's a bit different.
Maybe a bit, and there's also a bit of a difference in terms of personality. The thing that strikes me is the way that he's been true to himself despite following a legend.
Which is hard to do. But when you think of Ryan Day, you think about moving his coach's office right next to the locker room. I think more Dabo than Nick. More Dabo than Urban Meyer, more relational, more relatable to the kids, more love. So from a different place, in time will tell whether he's very successful, but he's a different kind of leader.
Yeah, love, approachable, very different from what the players are used to. Urban did it in a very different way. It was very motivating, but very, very different. The other thing we haven't even talked about is how innovative this guy is as a coach, as just a ball coach. Last year, we talked about, you know, people, I remember Louis Riddick and others in the NFL, they would pull out the film and watch Dwayne Haskins and what he was doing. They would talk about that scheme. Now he's doing it very differently with Justin Fields and J.K. Dobbins. And I think he really has shown that ability as an offensive coach. But his leadership, you know, that's, I think, the difference in what we're seeing from him right now as a head coach.
I've had conversations with him since last year, and the thing I respect about Coach Day is he's his own guy. He's his own man. He's not trying to be Urban Meyer. I respect his football acumen. I mean, he's intelligent. The way he called plays against Penn State last year when they were struggling, and he changed things in the second half was brilliant. And then the way he picked apart Don Brown's defense when they played Michigan was like a masterpiece. So I love the fact that he's his own guy. He's not trying to be Urban Meyer. And as far as his football intelligence, it's through the roof.
Yeah, I definitely buy stock. But you have to look at the long-term play, because Mark Helfrich took a team to the national championship game, didn't last long-term. Larry Coker didn't last long-term. Nope. You feel like this is different, though.
Yeah.
But there's a problem right there. You can't just eat the store-bought corn.
No.
It's fresh.
Take you can't chew ice cream, right?
So, see, even though we love Ryan Day, there's room for improvement. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, recognizing those who strive to rise above the rest. Goodyear is more driven. Still to come, College Game Day. You know the records that Michigan has against Ohio State. They haven't won one yet. They suffered a blowout loss in the New Year's Six Bowl. They had a lackluster effort against Wisconsin last week. What's the state of the program? And what does Michigan have to do next? And Cornhusker born, Cornhusker bred. She is our celebrity guest picker today. Gabrielle Union joins us to make some game picks. A sea of red for Husker Nation. Herbie's off to the side, man. We're going to camp.
I'm over here with Little Red.
Herbie's got his buddy Little Red over there. Here are the signs. Avery Martinez hoping to terminate the Buckeyes. Like the artwork there. Oh, look at this. It's a little disturbing. Oh, there's the Herbie Husker.
Oh, there we go.
You like that sign?
Yeah,
Herbie?
I like that. Oh, there you go. There you go.
They do trust Scott Frost. 12 years. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to confess, I don't know who that was. Do we know that lady? Oh, it's from Titanic. Okay. Ryan Day has an Android. So does Pollock. Do you like runza? have you had the runza? It's a local delicacy. Maybe we'll get some before it's over.
All right.
And I think they do trust the process here. Even Moses. The University of Nebraska. I saw a sign out there that said "and Ohio State University." And you got the obligatory shot at the Alabama schedule. I'm sure Fairbury High is very high in the FBI. It is about to get frosty tonight. Does LC want to do that? You think LC wants to put on the corn? Do you think LC wants to do that? You know what? The signs are a staple, the original social media. Remember this? The first ever sign on College Game Day. Rinaldi did a story. We couldn't find the guy, but Maria Taylor has now found it.
Of course I have. His name is Bob Mersad, and he's here with a replica of the very first sign ever seen on College Game Day. That was the third ever road show. Bob, you showed up with the sign. Okay, who are you sending a message to?
Art and Kay Ladenburg in Fairfax, Virginia. Some people I met in '94 at the Kickoff Classic, West Virginia, Nebraska. We beat the crap out of West Virginia that day.
Okay, so is it crazy to think that you're the OG sign guy that has now created this? Like how many signs that show up every single week for College Game Day? How does it feel to know you were the first?
Well, you know, for the first 19 years, I had no idea I was the first sign guy because until Tom Rinaldi did his piece, and then I saw it on YouTube. I didn't even see the original broadcast, and I said, whoa, that's me. Yeah, and it was right here 25 years ago.
There you go, that's him. Show him your OG sign. Put it up now. That's your guy. He's the reason why we're all here, Reese. Let's be honest.
Who knew that that guy would spark Twitter? There are plenty of signs referencing Michigan. I think they do all agree at the moment. And Michigan tanking doesn't work in college. We'll see. You know, the signs, we probably should have seen some of them coming for Michigan. Take, for example, what happened against Wisconsin, this hippo formation. 8 offensive linemen, 2,500 pounds, used it in short yardage and goal line and just steamrolled Michigan on the way to the victory. And can you imagine when Jim Harbaugh had a look at that, looked across at all of that brutality and power and said, hey, I thought all of a sudden that's what we were supposed to be. How come we're not big and strong like that? But instead, Michigan has changed its DNA. And instead of a team with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, you've got a listless team that's unrecognizable to Michigan men with no idea where they're going, what they're doing, or how they're going to get there. And it's an identity crisis that dates to last year.
If Harbaugh leaves the stadium today in Columbus without a win, Michigan fans are going to ask the question, is he ever going to win?
Wide open, and it is caught. Touchdown. We are watching a Michigan implosion.
0-4 against Ohio State, one top 10 win in 4 years.
This offense has been fairly anemic.
And that will be the conversation this offseason.
This feels like if a not now, when kind of year for Jim Harbaugh.
They get just about every possible advantage to their season.
As far as my confidence level, it's extremely high.
And of course, this should be a make it or break it season for Jim Harbaugh.
This has to be the year they get by the Buckeyes.
He's gonna be second fumble. Michigan, game over.
Yes, they won the game, but I have my doubts all over.
They lose to Wisconsin, people are going to pile on Jim Harbaugh.
Touchdown, Jonathan Taylor, 72 yards. The Badgers putting a beat down on Michigan.
Out-prepared, out-coached, outplayed the whole thing.
There's no answer for when you're getting punched in the mouth. Wisconsin just proved that Michigan is not up to standard of tough boy football.
They've regressed. They don't look on the cusp. They look like an ugly, overmatched team.
To see them leave Madison with their tail between their legs was shocking. Jim, I have to believe, is too competitive to take any of this lying down.
This week, this is the most important week. Win the next game. Make darn sure it doesn't happen again.
The Mays malaise. Shea Patterson hasn't adapted well, and the whole offensive change was to make it easier on the quarterbacks. They've had all kinds of fumbling problems. They haven't been able to stop the run. That's not just this year. That dates back to the last several games of last year as well. And Michigan just doesn't look as if it has an identity. We talked last week that if they didn't have a crisp performance against Wisconsin, it was sort of questionable as to where they go next. I mean, where do they stand right now in your judgment? What does Michigan need to do to get it fixed? Or can they?
Well, I think first and foremost, they haven't played to the standard. You know, there's a Michigan standard that obviously when you're 2-1, but it feels like 0-3, then they haven't played to the standard. And there's a lot of blame to go around, obviously, from the coaches to the players. So that's why I start with it. The players need to be accountable for what they're doing. I mean, Josh Gaddis is a guy who's taking a lot of heat because he's a new addition to the staff, but he's not coaching players to go out there and fumble the ball. He's not coaching players to go out there and have pre-snap penalties. Those are things that you have to be accountable as a player and play with some sort of pride for yourself and for your university. So that's why I start. But I know everyone else wants to take a swing at Michigan, so go ahead.
I don't really want to take a swing. I don't.
Give your opinion.
I don't think this is a Michigan team that's done for 2019. I think this is a team that I'm sure looked in the mirror this week, and including Jim Harbaugh and the coaches, and figured out what do we got to do that's better. Because I've never seen a good Michigan team, because it's a good Michigan team, look that bad and be that out-coached in every phase of the game. The line of scrimmage, I don't care what offense Michigan runs, they got to win the line of scrimmage. They don't win the line of scrimmage. The defensive line's getting pushed around. And when was the last time Michigan had a running back that was able to strike fear in your heart because he might hit a crease? Higdon was okay. I got to go all the way back to Mike Hart.
Yeah.
So if you don't fear the running game, you can keep two safeties back and take away those talented wide receivers. So this would be an interesting week. And like I said, I'm not giving up on this team at all. But, man, alive, that was as bad as it's ever been last week.
It seems to me like Michigan's playing with a lack of pride and intensity that we're used to seeing Michigan teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no question in my mind. If they keep losing, the panic button will push in Ann Arbor at the end of the year.
And we all thought Jim Harbaugh was a home run hire. I think. I did. I thought it was a home run hire. And you just mentioned the word pride and intensity. You remember Jim Harbaugh against Pete Carroll at the middle of the field, handshake, and what he did with Stanford, and just the brutality and
chip on his shoulder.
Yes, and that's what he always brought in. And he's brought better recruits in and players in. And you see the NFL, all the players they're putting out in the NFL, but they got to get that. They got to find that intensity and up front and be able to physically dominate. And listen, they've had it in stretches on defense. Let's be honest. Like, that defense the last couple of years has been fierce and unbelievable. Just Kirk offensively, it's been amazing that they haven't had that.
Yeah, Kirk made a good point, and I'm with Kirk. I'm not giving up on the 2019 season. When you look at Josh Gaddis, he's a coach that's been through a similar situation before in 2016 when he was with Penn State, and they was trying to install the same exact offense. They started off very slowly, 2-2. They got blown out of the waters by Michigan. Everyone was talking about, fire James Franklin, get him the hell out of there. But they went on to win the Big Ten championship that year. So I'm not giving up on the Wolverines just yet.
I think that's wise. We've talked about Gaddis, talked about the players. What responsibility does Jim Harbaugh have in this? I mean, it feels like the changes aren't the way he made his reputation, Stanford and the 49ers. And I know he used Kaepernick and did some spread, but it feels like he changed for some reason.
It seems like he changed?
Yeah, I mean, he changed his philosophy at least.
Well, you try to adapt with the times of the day. I mean, we've seen Nick Saban change his philosophy. I think that's what we see right now.
Doesn't Harbaugh bear the responsibility for it not working right now? And
of course, he's the head coach. All of it falls on the shoulders of Jim Harbaugh. There's no denying that whatsoever.
But I just think what's a little bit of, you talked about the panic button.
Yeah,
they went through the Rich Rod era, right? And then you back that up with the Brady Hoke era. That was 7 years of, I can't even imagine what, your fan base, the Michigan fan base, what they endured.
7 wins a year.
And then Jim Harbaugh comes in and it's like, thank God, here we go. And we're going to start winning some big games. And they're not. And so we could talk scheme and Josh Gaddis all you want. I think this is really a test. They get Rutgers, they'll get everything going this week, and then they get Iowa, and then it gets tougher. You get Penn State, you got Notre Dame coming up. This is where, to me, Des, like, if you're in the locker room, Walter Smith's in that locker room, like, I don't care who the offensive coordinator is. I don't care who the defensive coordinator. Aren't some players accountable to step up at some point and look at everybody in the eye and say, Not on my watch. Like, where are the alphas on this team to step up and say, let's go, man. Jake Long tweeted something out, the lineman walking onto the field.
Yeah.
He said that was the most disgusted thing he saw the whole game against Wisconsin. That was a good point.
Yeah. They have an opportunity. You got to, I mean, look, it's a long season. I think it was Khalid Hudson who referenced last year when they lost to Notre Dame. People were down on. They went on a 10-game winning streak. But Michigan
doesn't look like that.
Michigan's got to get right.
Yeah,
you know? They got to get right. There's no excuses there. And we should point this out too. They've been good. The problem is they've been good like NC State's been good. You know, like Mississippi State's been good.
Yeah. They haven't reached that standard.
It's not the Michigan standard. Not the Michigan standard yet. Perhaps Notre Dame is on the cusp of that standard. Still didn't quite get over the hump against Georgia, trying to join the 900 club against Virginia. You know, the Cavaliers went to see Rambo Last Blood last night. They're going to need some ruthlessness if they're going to win in South Bend, because Notre Dame comes in, coming off that game against Georgia in which they had a chance to win the game, had the ball late, and the Dogs were able to hang on. In one respect, you could say same old Notre Dame, but if you were looking for a reason to eliminate them from CFP consideration, you did not find it. But the Irish know that this game is going to be huge. They've still got that Rockney fight in them. And Khalid Kareem warning, next opponent, best of luck to you, because we're coming.
Snap to Book. Pressure. He roll scrambles, he's backpedaling, he's back on his 42, we're chasing, he hangs it up in the air, and it is incomplete. Dogs defense secured this victory.
You want to talk about defining games. It wasn't tonight. The defining game will be next week.
You know, Georgia really has nothing to do with it. We showed that we're tough and physical and ready to, bring that on to Virginia.
4-0 start and have some of the attention that we're garnering. It just adds to the urgency.
They're going to be challenged, and they're going to have to respond.
This is a different UVA team. Give me a great opportunity to put our mark on college football.
Our Goodyear blimp-worthy flashback takes us back to early September 2015. Virginia, home game against the Irish. Looks as if they had him on the rope.
In the rain, Deshaun Kaiser comes in and plays in this football game, makes a big throw late.
And that throw is coming. Malik Zaire was hurt in the game. Kaiser looking for Will Fuller.
We're like, who's this 14 guy? And then we're like, oh, that's who he is.
7 was pretty good.
That'll work. Yeah.
7 was pretty fast.
Straight out
That'll work.
Yes, that'll work.
Oh,
there it
poor
is.
guy.
This guy became a meme.
What is that? That's not the Cobra. That's the downward.
The opposite. That's downward cat. The Cavaliers could be way up today. They're tied with Florida, lead the nation with 20 sacks. Can they go in and catch Notre Dame after that tough game against Georgia and get them?
I think they're going to give Notre Dame everything they can handle. And playing off the tough game, which is really important to understand, physical, let down, now you go play Virginia.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't move I know it moves the meters for certain people, and we know Virginia's a really good football team, but Notre Dame has to respect Virginia. I tell you what, you watch their defense, Virginia. They are just... You talk about a defense that's in the right spot almost every single play, that don't beat themselves, that are going to make you earn everything. That's those guys, man. They are consistent. They rush the quarterback. They run games. This is going to be a tough game for Notre Dame.
You talk about taking a brand, go from Provo, Utah, into Charlottesville. That's what he's done.
Unbelievable.
Bronco Mendenhall. That's what you just described about their defense this year is what he's coached everywhere he's been. And so it's not a surprise. To me, I thought Brian Kelly said this game tonight against Georgia didn't define who we are. Next week will, because it's going to have to show the maturity of who they are. Ian Book, to me, is the difference today. His feet, ability to get away from the pressure. Virginia tied for the lead in the nation in sacks. They know how to get after the quarterback. But Des, I think Ian Book, or Coach, I think Ian Book has a chance to make some plays with his arm, but especially creating with his feet.
Let's talk about Notre Dame in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Let me tell you one thing. They got a good chance for the playoffs, but the problem is this. They do not play a nationally ranked team in November.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's going to hurt them, I tell you. They could go a long way, but they'll play a good team in November when the games count the most.
You know, I
that's
think
going to hurt them.
the way they played last week against Georgia on the road in Athens, I think it really inspires their team. They know they can play with some of the best teams in the country, so I think they're going to take that mentality into this game against UVA. UVA has a strong defense. There's no doubt about that. But I love the way Ian Book is managing the offense right now. And in the tight end, Cole Kmet. Watch Cole Kmet. That guy
Big
is
boy.
He's a playmaker, though, too.
Can we address coaches real quick? Because Notre Dame's out.
You think?
They're not going to be in the college football playoffs.
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that. I thought that going in, but I think they made a pretty good statement in that game last week.
It all depends on how many undefeated teams there are.
There's a whole bunch of moving parts before we can figure out or in.
I got you. We can do the ifs, ands, and buts all day if we'd like to.
Yeah.
But what we've seen in the past with Power 5 teams, one-loss teams, they're going to be behind every single one of them. Every single one of them. They're not going to be a conference champion. So they're going to be sitting there watching when everybody else is playing the last week, which is going to matter to the committee. And here's the thing, and again, Coach talked about the schedule. Virginia's a good team, the best team they play the rest of the way.
Michigan.
I don't think there's enough on Notre Dame's schedule.
I agree with that.
Last year we talked about them as a no-loss team. People were like, they don't deserve to be in it.
I'm discussing that, man. I think they feel very different than they did last year. I think they're better than they were last year.
Yes.
And I think, I don't care who they play down the stretch. It would hurt them as far as the eye test. But if you're beating people soundly, I don't care who you're playing. If you look good, you look good.
I agree with you. And how many years have we gotten down to splitting hairs over the best loss? And who's going to have a better loss than what they had last Saturday night? Well, as Coach said, a lot of football. Let's check in with Maria.
Hey, Reese, I've got your Pizza Hut home team fan here, and it's John and Kathy Pounds, who have been to 398 straight Nebraska games, home and away. So you got to walk me through exactly how you've been able to make this happen over the course of time.
I couldn't hear you.
How have you been able to make it to so many straight games?
Well, perseverance, friends we have, we've been able to get tickets most of the time, but other connections, are through the StubHub. But we managed to, it's just dedication.
Yeah. You guys have even gone all the way to Tokyo, apparently, when Nebraska was playing against K-State. And Kathy, you underwent a kidney transplant. You got it from John, and you still didn't miss a game.
No.
How did you guys make that happen?
No, we actually told the doctors, we said, we got to schedule this transplant around Husker football.
Well, there you go. Husker football is life, and you guys are some extraordinary fans here at Nebraska. Kathy and John Pounds, Reese.
Wow, that's a good effort.
Some dedicated fans like that, Maria. And you know what? We've been following the travels of Gameday done right. Our friends Dave and Barb Wright, Oregon fans. They've been traveling around following Gameday. They're getting up around 4,000 miles, now past 4,000 miles. Hey, look, they went and visited the Abe Lincoln historical place there. And now over 4,500 miles, they're in the midst of this someplace.
I love that.
In the middle.
What a trip. What an idea.
We should do that sometime.
Yeah. Well, we'll shut it down.
After we do it. You already done it. It's time now, right? Oh, what a game we're going to have tonight. Ohio State and Nebraska. You see what the atmosphere is going to be like for the 5th-ranked team in the country as the Huskers try to get a landmark, an era-defining upset. There is one fan who will be here cheering on her beloved Huskers. But before that, Gabrielle Union's going to make some picks for us here on College Game.
Who's Nebraska's first Heisman Trophy winner?
Johnny Rogers, family friend. Hi, Johnny.
Name the other 2 winners.
I have their helmets, Mike Rozier and Eric Crouch.
Nebraska has how many national titles?
5.
Name all 5 years they won the title.
70, 71, 94, 95, and 97.
Ain't no kicks tonight, right?
Going to pace yourselves just a little bit?
Pace yourself.
Hey, we got a great morning here in Lincoln on College Game Day. Big Red Fields at the Buckeye Buckeyes are ripe for the picking.
When conference teams get together, they have a book. That's where you all of a sudden see some upsets.
It's not going to be very long before people are going to be worried about us. We get a chance today to prove it.
I didn't think about red shirts. I didn't think about doing any of this until everything was on the table.
It seems like an egregious manipulation of the rule.
I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4 teams right now that I could see beating Alabama or Clemson.
I remember I was just so nervous. I was never 100% sure that I'd actually get to play full contact football. It's just been a dream come true.
So many great moments this morning. What a great day we have. This is Husky Stadium, Union Bay on Lake Washington. Trojans' last trip there. They beat number 4 and playoff-bound UW in 2016. You know SC's had to go through virtually the entire roster of quarterbacks. JT Daniels was the guy they were hinging their hopes on. Season-ending knee injury in the opener against Fresno State. That opened the door for Keaton Slovis. He was terrific against Stanford, but then got hurt against Utah with a concussion, and he's still out for the Washington game. But Matt Fink came in against Utah, and I'm told that the team really has rallied around him because he's been with them longer than anyone else. They had a couple of Seahawks, Rasheem Green and Jordan Simmons, come by the hotel to talk to these upstart Trojans who suddenly are navigating that tough schedule early pretty well.
I tell you what, so impressed with the USC because everyone's been trying to just kill their head coach, Clayton Helton. He's like, oh, Clayton's going to get fired. They're not going to win. Quarterback after quarterback, they go out there and perform. Keaton Slovis against Stanford. Give the young man credit. You don't know if you're going to start. JT Daniels goes down. He gets a starting position. He beats Stanford. He goes down. Matt Fink, he's prepared. He goes out there, and they beat Utah. So I love the way that they prepare their quarterbacks. And Graham Harrell, in my opinion, is calling a fantastic game with his backup quarterbacks. I liked him today against Washington.
Yeah, I think going to Seattle is a little bit of a different animal because of the way they play defense. And Matt Fink's been a great story. All these quarterbacks and really this offense, considering the adversity that they have faced, has been tremendous. But Jacob Eason's playing good football, too. What he did last week, going to Provo, they did a nice job protecting him. To me, that's the key. Can Washington take care of Eason? Can they have balance running and throwing at home in Seattle? You know how tough it is to go up there and win.
Yeah,
I'm going with the Huskies.
Washington's a tough team to beat.
Yeah.
One of the reasons is special teams. Coach Peterson, in his 5 years, has had 14 touchdowns by returns.
Whoa.
And you know how it influenced? None. And they're almost unbeatable in Washington. It's going to be a tough thing for USC.
I know all of those flavors of the air raid are a little bit different. But Coach Pete, 5-0 against the air raid.
Good point.
One that belongs to Mike Leach. Harold runs it a little bit differently on the subject of the air raid. Mike Leach, Old Crimson, I believe flying at half staff after what happened to them last week against UCLA. I mean, this was impossible. The collapse in Pullman. They had a 49-17 lead. Look at their chance to win. Percentage, nothing.
That's an all-time low, right?
So you're saying we got a chance.
Just run the ball, right? Run the ball.
You know what? I tried to do the math. I believe they could have taken a knee, expired the play clock, kicked the ball out of bounds, and won. I think. I don't know. They ended up scoring 130 points. Oh, but UCLA had them right where they wanted. Yes, remember that comeback against Texas A&M a couple of years ago, and now they're 2-4 when trailing by 30 or more. The rest of the world's 0-414. Now Wazoo has to deal with Utah. Both teams coming off disappointment.
Yeah, this is a tough test for both teams emotionally. I just think the home team, you go back to Utah, the Muss student section, it's going to be very, very tough for, I think, Washington State. Now, listen, they're going to get their yards. Gordon's going to throw the football. But that is a tough one to – it's one of those games where the coach says, man, we don't want one game to give us two losses. I think this might be the case, especially because they're going to Salt Lake. I like the Utes.
Utah needs to win this game to complete their drive toward the playoff. I'm not done yet. On their playoff. They got to win this one, though. They got to win this one.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't know where the Cougars are mentally, because when I sat there and watched that comeback by UCLA, that was just amazing. You look at Coach Leach and his staff, and they didn't know what hit them. Just wondering where they are mentally. I think that the Cougars will win this game against the Utes, but it's going to be a close one.
Well, it would be a clean sweep for the in-state teams, Bear. You've got a BYU on the board.
I do. We do. Not BYU, the team that got annihilated by UW last week. I don't like the spot at all for BYU today. You look at 4 straight Power 5 opponents to start the year, 3 Pac-12, including your rival Utah. You have the road game at Tennessee. You win in overtime, you go back. Couple overtime games. I think the dam kind of broke last week. Now you got to go to Toledo, who they're not going to respect Toledo going to the glass ball there. I don't know if it's Jason Candle's best team, but they got a good dual threat quarterback. Hung in there with Kentucky for a while. I like Toledo here as a home underdog to get that right win. That's the third one.
A couple underdogs at home, huh?
I get two home underdogs.
Yeah, 2 home dogs.
3 dogs, 2 home dogs. And speaking of a home dog, by the way, I'm just looking at the movement here.
Yep.
They're betting Boston College like they have tomorrow's newspaper. The number's down to 5.
I really like that.
There's a lot of people betting Boston College. And when you talked about it, it's a tricky spot for Wake Forest on the road. You're expected to win, and the last time BC set foot on that field, they got annihilated by Kansas. So we'll see what happens.
But that was on Friday night.
Yes, it was.
I'm just wondering if everybody's ready to jump on that UCLA bandwagon after the comeback. They've got Arizona.
I think Arizona.
Playing ball.
He's healthy. Khalil takes healthy.
The scheme looks better for him,
Had some good moments against Texas Tech early this year. Coach Sugar counting us down to kickoff just under 36.5 minutes before Iowa gets started. Nate Stanley welcoming Iowa to the best. It's Middle Tennessee.
Not a favorite around these parts, huh?
No, they've been able to develop a little bit of a rivalry between these two.
Probably the best rivalry now in the Big Ten for Nebraska, wouldn't you say?
I think that was a question we thought about asking. Who said
I think so.
Don't play Oklahoma, don't play Colorado.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably Iowa.
I think it's Iowa. Feels like it.
We can probably listen and figure out what they think about Iowa. You can see Iowa and Middle Tennessee. Iowa, a tough win at Michigan. Kind of a showdown game for the Wolverines next week. Gabrielle Union will be our celebrity guest picker. Our friends at Wheels Up, making sure that Gabrielle gets here to join us. Now, you know Gabrielle and her husband, Dwayne Wade, are close with LeBron James.
Yeah.
Noted Buckeye fan. This is King James' Instagram. Well, boomerang action, breakfast and game day to start things off this Saturday.
Big Buckeye fan.
He is.
His only flaw.
No, that's my guy. This is a great guy. That's my guy. You know, he also tweeted, I think it wasn't going to end well for them. Coming up at noon, Texas Tech and Oklahoma, Jalen Hurts. And he's improved those Heisman Trophy odds. He has been sensational up to this point. Defense much better for Texas Tech under Matt Wells. Texas A&M and Arkansas. Coach Sugar counts us down to kickoff. Neutral site game. You know what? 3 of the last 5 have gone to overtime here. They need to elevate Mon's play a little bit as he gets ready. Well, me, the gentleman of the corps. Yes, sir. And now our celebrity chef. We showed you this meat that they were cooking up earlier.
Wow.
And then we got like a seafood bucket, huh? Yeah, we're going right here.
There we go. Now we talking. Yeah.
Dessert.
This is it.
This is some of that.
This is going home with me.
Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that, Dad.
Get in there, LC.
Yeah. Look at this. This is the real deal here. Look at this.
Isn't that nice?
Boxing this up.
Turn that around.
Look at that.
Holy Keep turning that, Dad. It's too long.
That's too pretty to eat.
I'm going to get that on bread,
Like that football, Dad.
AT&T Best Performer, giving us a look at Wisconsin running back Jonathan Taylor. I'm digging the old school years.
Yeah, man, I like that. I like the helmet, like it all.
Really?
Yeah, it's new.
Let me see.
Oh, yeah, that's a throwback, LC.
That running back was pretty good in just about anything.
Oh, then they threw those pants in. I don't know.
440 rushing yards for Jonathan Taylor. That is more than 27 FBS teams this year. But been tough sledding against Northwestern. Never had more than 80 yards in either of his 2 games against them and had a couple of fumbles. There is Paul Christ and Pat Fitzgerald. Paul Christ probably telling Pat, you know, I don't listen to the Twitter people either. Pat showing him good box-out moves, perhaps. Allison Williams caught up with Paul Christ a little while ago.
Coach Chris, quite the start for your team, 3-0 in the season. You've got the top-ranked defense and averaging about 48 points a game. So what's the key to maintaining that level of play here today against Northwestern?
Well, certainly we're facing a good team, a team that we respect a ton, and you know that's what's great about sports. You got to do it each and every week, and you get that opportunity to do it each and every week. And so what you've done before. Certainly appreciate the way guys have approached each week, but today's a new challenge, a new opportunity, and hopefully we make the most of it.
As you have a look at Jonathan Taylor, Coach Zero Sugar counting us down to kickoff, less than a half hour away. Wisconsin's 2 starting safeties going to miss the first half. They got targeting calls in the second half, so be a little bit down, but that Northwestern offense hasn't done much either.
Hankowitz, the defensive coordinator from Northwestern, always seems to get his defense cued in on this scheme. Makes it tough. Jack Cohn's going to have to make some throws. He's got a great group of wide receivers. One thing we're not talking about Wisconsin is Cephas and the wide receivers, top to bottom, the best that I think they've ever had, at least in the last 10 or 15 years. Look for them to have to make plays today, LC.
And they're tough at home.
Yeah.
I coach against them. They're tough at home in Wisconsin, boy.
Yeah, Kent Randall's a very loud stadium. They get after you there.
Ever?
Yes.
Well, there's always linebacker play, and Bond, Zach Bond, 56. Watch him today off the edge, especially on third down, getting into the face of Hunter Johnson, who, guys, up to this point, those unis look pretty good, too.
Yeah, they
up
do.
to this point has not been able to get things going. Transferred from Clemson. Everybody thought this would be a year where, after sitting out last year, he would help Isaiah Bowser, the running back, out to have a balanced attack. But, man, they can't throw the ball right now.
And it's not going to help, too, that Bennett Skoranek is not supposed to play in this game, one of the better wide receivers for Northwestern. Coach Zero Sugar counting us down to kick off in Arlington, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. Kellen Mond, a little bit up and down. There's been some accuracy issues.
Yeah, I think the issue is they haven't been able to run the ball effectively, and when you can't run the ball, it affects your play-action game, which Kellen Mond needs as far as being an accurate quarterback. And I think Jamon Osborne, he's gonna have a big game today. Speller, you got guys back there. This is what the doctor ordered. Going up against an Arkansas defense, very porous defense. You can run the ball on these guys. I think they're gonna have a big game offensively.
Remember one thing, they lost to 2 teams, Clemson and Auburn.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, there's Nick Starkel. Remember, he used to play at Texas A&M. He threw 5 picks against San Jose State last week, and then declared afterwards he was throwing away the Justin Bieber T-shirt he'd been wearing to warm up in. They throw 5 picks against the Spartans, and now we go.
And now we go. Great name here. Yeah, we had to put Bumper Pool up on the board here just to show you. Leads the team in tackles in 2 of the last 4 games. Bumper Pool, be calling him hopefully a few times today, making some tackles for the Hogs.
Memorial Stadium hasn't seen an unranked Husker team beat a top 5 opponent since 1977 when they beat Alabama. They had 5 interceptions in that game. That game at the time was called the most emotional effort of the Tom Osborne era. The aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. The best part of every kickoff is the drive that comes next. Go further with Goodyear. That emotional effort that the Huskers mustered in 1977, they could use a similar emotional effort tonight if they're going to pull off the upset against Ohio State. The black shirts forcing Justin Fields into mistakes, that would help. They're emphasizing, hold that coverage longer. Nebraska does get pressure on the quarterback, nearly 40% of dropbacks. But pressuring Fields, well, that's just part of the problem. He can make you pay with a big play.
Fields takes off running straight ahead down the left side field, and he takes it into the end zone. Welcome to Columbus, Justin Fields.
Freak, athlete, star.
Things come easy to him. He also hasn't really faced a ton of adversity either.
He came in real humble, and that's what I like about him.
The biggest thing is understanding when you have the quarterback and when you're in coverage. Anytime you mess up in that, he's going to throw a 40-yard bomb. He's going to get 40 yards coming up.
Running to the near side, he's at the 5, he's hit, touchdown. Adrian Martinez finds the end zone with those golden legs of his.
I think Adrian has a unique maturity for his age.
I'd like to describe myself as dynamic.
Everything they do, they go through him. We're just going to have to try to shut him down.
Being a sophomore, having that experience under his belt, he's going to be able to kind of correct the mistakes that he made last year. As a whole defense, we're ready for that challenge.
This is the type of game. This is where Ohio State has stumbled. Big favorite, often on the road, and then turning up with the face plants. Let's go down to Maria and David. Now, what do you see tonight, guys?
Yeah, you're right, Reese. And remember what we saw a season ago, David? Nebraska went out to Columbus, and they only lost by 5 points. What did we learn from that and how it could manifest itself here tonight?
Well,
there's no doubt about it. The Ohio State Buckeyes have better players. Like, that's not debatable. So how do you manipulate Chase Young? How do you use Martinez and his athletic ability to your advantage? And they did a great job of it a year ago. And this is, again, the true freshman Adrian Martinez in the horseshoe zone read. Now look at this. I don't block Chase Young, but look, my running back is going outside, my quarterback's inside. So I'm stretching the field to make you defend left and right. Again, Chase Young's a super freak. Don't block him. Let Adrian Martinez use his athleticism and run in the end zone. Perfect job. Again, here, what did I just change? Now I just changed where the running back's running straight downhill and the quarterback's outside. Again, a different look for the defensive end, a different look for them, and Adrian Martinez does a great job breaking tackles and getting on the perimeter. So I make you think. And this is a big part of the game plan last year. A lot of pick plays. Ohio State is going to play man coverage on the outside. 1,000%, that's who they are, that's what they are. And these pick plays, defenses call them pick plays, they're cheating. Offenses call them rubs. Pick plays, when you get man coverage, it gets outside play, or gets plays going on the outside. Martinez did a great job taking advantage of the outside part of the field. They spread you out, they mix it up. So Ohio State will have to be ready for that. But don't spend two guys with Chase Young. Make him look different things.
All right, that's what Nebraska can learn from last year's matchup, Reese.
All right, Maria, we look at this now. Kirk, when you look at this game, what's the key tonight? What are you watching?
I think Martinez is a big part of it. You just saw, David, what they did last year. And the crowd's going to have to be a factor. And then Martinez's ability to run and throw the football. I think the big thing to me is Ohio State's defense. You know, when Wan'Dale was announced to become the new head coach, he went out right away and hired co-defensive coordinators. And Jeff Hafley, who was with the 49ers, and Greg Madison, who was actually, ironically, at Michigan, they put a different defensive approach to Ohio State. And it's a different year in 2019. David just showed you some of the struggles that they had last year against Martinez was they could not contain the edge of their defense. So he would get outside, he'd have that RPO game, run or throw, and put these guys in man-to-man coverage in a tough spot. A lot of times they'd have their back to the football, and he's just running down the field. The other thing happened all year, whether it was Maryland, Purdue, here against Nebraska, poor tackling and poor angles from the secondary. Because so much man-to-man, it put him in a tough spot. So what's different this year? A ton more zone. Playing a lot of cover three with a safety in the middle. What's that allow you to do? You get your eyes on the football, right, Coach? You're running to the ball, gang tackling. Look at that. And the other thing that has stood out to me, and again, they've played inferior opponents, is they're tackling better in space. They're not hesitating. They're not taking those poor angles. Guys like Malik Harrison, who's a phenomenal linebacker, are being able to show their athletic ability and not out of position. And here, Nebraska fans have got to get ready for this guy, because on third down, number 2 is the best in the country. Uses the club here, and then he has the bend and the leverage with the strength to be able to get around the corner and get to the quarterback. Already has 4 sacks, probably on the verge of breaking the Ohio State record for sacks in a season, maybe for a career. So he's a guy that I think Nebraska's going to have to account for on third down, slide their protection, try to do something, Coach, to slow him down. But, man, you've got to be impressed with these new tweaks that Hafley and Greg Madison have both made.
Everybody's talking about the Buckeye offense, but don't sleep on the defense and special teams. You know why? The defense is number 2 in the nation in total defense, and the special teams, they blocked 3 kicks in 3 games. 3 for 3. And by the way, just to remind you guys, they won 10 in a row. They're not doing too bad. They won 10 in a row.
Well, Coach, I tell you what, Justin Fields is as great as advertised. I mean, he's been a special addition to Ohio State's offense. Let me show you some of the tools that he has in his toolbox and what the Cornhuskers defense is going to have to deal with tonight. First of all, he's very poised. 4th and 11 against Miami of Ohio. Watch him now. He's in the pocket. He's looking to his left. He feels the pressure from his right. He ducks under the pressure, then he goes immediately to his right. Eyes still down the field. He didn't panic and run. He throws a nice, soft, catchable ball for the first down. How about this football IQ? He knows that the defense is going to bring pressure to the offense's left. So what he slides the protection to the left, and then the defense, they drop 7, and they only rush 4. What does Fields do? He looks down the field. He's not going to try to force the ball to a tight window because he's so athletic at 6'3", 250 pounds. 225 pounds.
Come on,
he runs for the first down. My bad. And then arm talent. You're talking about how strong his arm is, but how about the accuracy? 4th and 20 against Miami of Ohio. Look at that dime for a touchdown. Right over the defender's shoulder to his receiver. He has a lot of tools in his toolbox. The Cornhuskers going to have their hands full on defense dealing with Justin Fields tonight.
But they'll have plenty of emotion. So, David, who's going to win the game?
I tell you what, all the tapes show you all the different angles, and Ohio State has the talent advantage. This crowd is going to have to be nuts to keep Nebraska in it. Scott Frost has done a phenomenal job recruiting talent like Adrian Martinez, and you see Washington, these guys, they're not ready for this. They're not ready for Chase Young. They're not ready for that defense. I think that defense makes enough plays, turns the Nebraska offense over a couple times, and Justin Fields and company is just too good for Nebraska right now. They didn't hear me make a pick, so it's great.
David goes with the Buckeyes. Bear, what's your take?
I don't think Nebraska can win the game, but I do think they can hang around if they just don't turn the ball over, get off to a good start. I think Ohio State will win, but I don't think it's a 24, 27-point win like a lot of people expect tonight. I think Nebraska plays well tonight.
All right, that's not popular so far. I have a feeling the more popular picks may be coming. Maria Taylor is not too far away, and somewhere in there, we have our celebrity guest picker. We also have Dwayne Wade hanging around.
Yeah, and he's the guy that's got to open up the door for the real star here in Lincoln, Nebraska. One of the original black shirts, Gabrielle Union. And you know, I gotta ask you, I know you're from Nebraska, but when did you officially become a Huskers fan?
At birth.
At birth, you were born into
from the state of Nebraska, you are a born Cornhusker fan. That's just the rules. That's just what it is.
So the next question is, are you now a Nebraska fan?
I am, per our prenup. I am a Nebraska fan.
So the good news is, the prenup is in. We got two Huskers coming up to the set. Gabrielle, we're so excited to have you. D-Wade, we'll join you up on the set next.
Let's go, baby!
College Game Day is built by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
People throwing up the bones out there, and we got a tight race in the Super Dogs all of a sudden. LC still leading the way, though.
Oh. Somebody got off the schneid there, far right.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody got it.
Far right.
Oh,
we pulled the ponies last week.
I was bad last week. I got to get it going. I got BC, yo. They're playing Wake at home. I think that BC will cover. I think Wake's the better team, but Bear already said that a lot of money's going on BC, so I think BC will cover. I'm going Wake and BC. I need this one this week. I need it badly.
All about the points. That's all I'm saying here. From Michigan State and Indiana, I think it's 14 points that Indiana's getting in East Lansing. They can score.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be tough against that Michigan State defense, but I think they can hang around.
UCF, 6.5 underdog. SMU beat rival TCU last week, while USF was resting in beautiful downtown Tampa. Perfect spot for an upset. Perfect spot.
SMU is shocker, man.
And he is still undefeated. I'm going to take Arkansas State against Troy. Now, the Red Wolves are without their starting quarterback. Lane Hatcher's going to get the start. That Trojan secondary suspect. The Arkansas State losses have come to Georgia and SMU. But getting a TD on the road, I'll take it. I'll go with the Red Wolves. It's on ESPN Plus tonight at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Saturday's selections brought to you by Coors Light. Pleased to have our celebrity guest picker with us, or pickers in this case, with Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade. Of course, Dwayne Wade, one of the 50 greatest players in the history of the NBA. I would even rank him higher than that. Hey, Gabrielle Union, extraordinary actress from America's Got Talent and a lifelong Husker fan.
Look at that.
Here's what you're shooting for, guys.
McConaughey, 9-2.
He was good, boy.
That's a strong one.
He's good.
Very good. Gabrielle, there's a story behind the jersey that you're wearing today.
Yes. Christian Gaylord, his father, Scott, passed away last week, and they asked me to wear his jersey in his honor, and absolutely, I'm humbled and honored to wear it.
Very cool.
Nice of you. Very nice of you to do that. Very good part of the entire Husker family, and that's a feel-good moment. I'm not sure how good you guys are going to feel about this tweet I'm about to show you from your good friend LeBron James. Do you see that? He sends his love, but then he says it's not going to end well for you tonight. Hey, perfectly segued setup. LeBron's hometown is Akron. Akron and UMass, two of the worst teams in the country. So we got to pick who wins.
Akron can't protect the quarterback. They can't get after the quarterback. I got UMass in the close one.
We're going with Akron because that's the only win LeBron's going to get today.
Coming out swinging. Wow. Hey, not so fast. Not so funny, friend. Akron.
Akron. I'm going to go Akron. UMass suspensions, bad defense. Give me Akron.
Well, whoever
for
wins
LeBron
gets their first win. How about Wake and BC?
Yeah.
Wake and BC.
Oh, this is my super dog. I think Wake's going to win, but I hope BC covers. So I'm going Wake.
Guys? We're gonna give Chris Paul a little love on this. We're gonna go Wake.
There we go.
This one.
Yeah, I got about CP3.
Yeah.
LC?
Who'd you pick?
Wake Forest.
Wake Forest.
Boston College in an upset.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
Boston College in an upset.
Pay attention to Wake. Jamie Newman can throw it around over 300 yards a game. I like Wake to take care of BC on the road.
How about North Carolina State and Florida State?
I think Alex Hornibrook is going to have a very efficient game. Cam Akers is going to play extremely well. I have Florida State beating North Carolina State.
We're going with
like you guys
Florida
are torn
State.
between this one.
Well, we had to come to an agreement on this one. We're going to keep it in the state of Florida. We're going to, FSU.
Go Simmons.
Oh, great pick. Congratulations. You know what you're talking about, Florida State.
Yeah, I think Florida State, honestly, Alex Hornibrook coming in last week, I think settled that team down. I think this could be a turning point maybe in their season. I think they take care of NC State.
Minnesota keeps pulling games out of the fire at Purdue.
I like this game. Close game. I like what Minnesota's doing, but I think Purdue's going to pull it out. I like Boilermakers.
Oh, we're going with Purdue because Purdue got it done last year, and today we're going to the theme is be like Purdue and beat Ohio State.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Hey, great
We'll take
job.
Good call. That's a good call.
She's funny. She keeps funny on all these jokes.
Showbiz,
Purdue.
right?
Showbiz.
Yeah,
Showbiz.
Sindelar's the key. Guy's throwing for like 460 yards a game, coming off a concussion. If he's healthy, they win big. I like Purdue.
All right, game coming up at noon, Northwestern and Wisconsin. They'll kick off soon. It's on ABC. Who wins it?
Jonathan Taylor needs to be mentioned more in the Heisman race. This guy is an outstanding running back, one of the best in the country. Jonathan Taylor goes for over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. I like Wisconsin big over Northwestern.
Well, I'm a Marquette University guy. We really don't normally pick Wisconsin. We don't like them, but today we're going to pick Wisconsin. They're a tough team.
Yeah, it's a very, very good pick. Old school Wisconsin.
Old school.
Tough to beat.
This would be just like Wisconsin to just look sloppy today. You know, Northwestern typically plays them well, so they're going to win, but I don't think it's going to look great. I think it's going to be one of those close games.
You know, Chris Kleiman can do something even the great Bill Snyder didn't do and start his K-State career 4-0. He inherited a better situation. Did he stay unbeaten at Oklahoma State?
I don't think so. You know, they went on the road, went to Stark Vegas, and they beat Mississippi State. But Oklahoma State can score points. I don't think that Kansas State can score with Oklahoma State, so I'm going Cowboys.
We're going to go Kansas State because we are friends with one of the all-time great Kansas State players, Jaime Mendez. So in honor of Mr. Mendez, we are going with K-State.
I love that logic. Makes total sense.
I'm
Works
sorry.
as well as anything you guys do.
Yeah, I agree.
You should bring it on. Bring it on. I said, bring it on. No.
Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State.
I like Oklahoma State. Just this offense is fun to watch. They can score. This freshman quarterback, Spencer Sanders, doing a really good job running and throwing. Wallace, maybe the best receiver. Hubbard running. They'll outscore K-State today.
That's ESPN Plus at 7 o'clock tonight. What about Iowa State and Baylor?
You're looking at Baylor, a team that's undefeated, but they haven't been tested yet. Iowa State obviously tested against Iowa, lost that game. I like Iowa State to beat Baylor.
Well, the new Nebraska basketball head coach is Fred Hoiberg. He coached at Iowa State, so we're going to go Iowa State.
There we go.
There you go. Solid logic.
Solid. There you go. Boom. Keep it in the
Nice pick. You get the golden buzzer. That would pick Baylor, an upset.
Really?
Baylor. Yes, sir. Baylor, an upset.
I'm going Fred Hoiberg and Iowa State. I just think that Brock Purdy last week had a great game. They're playing great defense.
The only one that Baylor.
This is Bears game of the year, by the way. Iowa State and Baylor. Iowa State.
Is fired out about that. How about Mississippi State and Auburn? Bulldogs have some quarterback questions. 7 o'clock on ESPN. Wouldn't be shocked to see Tommy Stevens try it.
I wouldn't either, but I think that they don't have enough offense to go up against Auburn's defense. Auburn's defense probably create a couple of turnovers. I like Auburn in a close one over Mississippi State.
We're going Auburn. Just Classic. They're a great football program. We're just going with rolling with the women.
Auburn, classic football program. Auburn.
Auburn looks terrible today, but wins. They're not going to. This is a game that after last week, a little bit of hype, looking past maybe Mississippi State. Mississippi State's going to play tough, but they're not going to win the game.
All right, we're going to have some thunderstorms and weather in Salt Lake City, but Washington State has won and covered 4 straight against Utah.
Make it 5 straight. I don't think they're going to have a hangover from their embarrassing loss last week to UCLA, so I think Washington State is going to make it 5 in a row.
Utah. We went with Utah. We ain't got no reason for it. Just went with Utah.
Be honest. We have 0 reason.
And that's the best reason they forward. That's a good reason.
Yeah.
Utah.
Yeah, that's my reason too. Yeah, your playoff team. I just think Kyle Whittingham's not going to let this team lose 2 in a row. They lost to SC against the 3rd-string quarterback. They bounced back this week. Going to have to play pass defense, obviously, but they'll win the game.
All right, Pac-12, USC, and Washington. Trojans could come out of this at 4-1.
I know the Trojans, man. You think that they're done, but they just keep rising to the top. But I think today Washington will prevail. I got the Huskies over the Trojans.
Listen, I'm a Nebraska fan, but a UCLA grad, and I will never give USC
There
anything.
you go.
So I am going with Washington solely for that reason.
Makes sense.
That's a good reason because you're UCLA grad, right?
Yep.
Washington because of that.
I'm going with Washington because of Seattle. If this game were at the Coliseum, maybe it's a different feel. But, man, Jacob Eason looked good last week, and I think the Huskies' defense against Matt Fink, they'll get some turnovers and get the ball back to Washington.
Last time all those purple W's came up in Seattle, SC won. Just saying.
Is that a pick?
No. Hey, what about Virginia and Notre Dame?
I tell you what, I'm very impressed with Notre Dame. A week ago in Athens, I think that helps their confidence. I like Notre Dame to beat UVA today.
This is a personal pick. Chris Quinn is assistant coach at Marquette. At the Miami Heat. He went to Notre Dame. I don't like him. I don't like them. So I'm going to go with Tina Thompson is the head women's coach at Virginia, so we're going with Virginia.
Oh, man, that is a great pick because they're about 15.5, 16-point underdogs. That's a great pick.
Boom.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame looked great last week, and I think we all got excited about them. But honestly, I think we're going to learn more about Notre Dame today against Virginia. Virginia doesn't sound good, but Notre Dame, if they play well today, I think they get even more love and more people, more momentum, where people are starting to buy into who they are this year. Ian Book's the difference with his legs today creating.
Okay, I want to get one more quick one in here. Texas Tech, Oklahoma. Close, not close, who wins?
Sooners, big.
Big.
Listen, being a die-hard Nebraska fan, growing up, we hated Oklahoma. But, man, Jalen gives Oklahoma so much excitement, probably not since, Jamel Holloway back in the day. So we're going to go with Oklahoma.
Good pick. It's Oklahoma. Coach Riley is 20-1 versus unranked teams. Make it 21-1.
Yeah, this should be against the number to me. This is like a.
Well, that's what I think.
This is a layup. This is a layup. Blowout.
Cover.
Four touchdowns. I think that covers.
That would cover.
Yeah, with 4 extra points.
Assuming all the extra points are good too. And then the game that we have tonight, Ohio State and Nebraska. Just the second meeting ever between 2 members of the 900-win club, but Nebraska hasn't been in that ethereal realm in nearly 2 decades, and the numbers say they don't have a chance. But they have a puncher's chance, and they know very well that the Buckeyes on rings and stages like this have shown a glass jaw.
Last year, I'm not sure we got their best shot. I think Ohio State's a better team this year than they were a year ago, and so are we.
We're big guys, and everybody wants to take a shot at us.
We kind of compare it to being a top prize boxer, in that someone's going to try to knock you out every week.
I think it's just going to test us mentally. I just want to see where our toughness is.
I expect the atmosphere to be just amazing. 90,000 fans wearing red. Most passionate, most loyal fans in all of college football.
Can't wait to see how raucous and rowdy it is in there. It's going to be.
All right, Herbie and Fowler have the call tonight. So no pick from Kirk. You, however.
I tell you what, I've never heard so much basketball logic in picking football games. You guys are I think, listen, look at Nebraska's team. They have some playmakers. Adrian Martinez is a Heisman Trophy candidate. They got a kid named Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, I don't think the Buckeyes have anybody on their roster that can stick with him. But the roster, when you look at the Buckeyes, is just too deep. They prevail late in the game. I'm going Buckeye. That means I can't get a ride back home on the jet to Miami.
What do you got, guys?
Okay. Listen, we're going to have a monster day from Adrian, a monster day from Wan'Dale, an insane day from Mo Berry is going to make it Mo better. So I am going with the Nebraska University Lincoln, Nebraska, in the upset of the century today.
That's a great pick. You know, Kirk, you know that Brutus is one of my all-time favorites.
I can't lost track how many times you put Brutus on your head.
But remember, he was my first. So.
Yeah, you know Ohio State's a big favorite tonight, too.
Yeah, but Ohio State has won 10 straight. Ohio State has outscored their opponents 214 to 36. Ohio State has one of the best defenses in the country.
Sweetheart, sounds like you've talked yourself into making this pick.
You got it, sweetheart. Give me that head.
Oh! Hey! Right next to Gameday.
She doesn't look happy with you, LC.
LeBron's happy.
LeBron's all in. Gabrielle Union, Dwayne Wade, thanks for being with us. Always a pleasure to see you guys enjoy the game tonight. We've got football.